Screams echoed through the long corridors of the castle. Men shouted that they had to search everything and find the girl. Footsteps quickly passed her hiding place. Drops of cold sweat slowly trickled down the blonde's face. The girl tried her best not to give away her presence with her breath. She prayed to God if he existed, and begged him to make sure she was not found. There was a distinct click behind the girl. Steps were quickly approaching her. The silhouette of a huge guy hung over her fragile body. The stranger gently touched her silky hair and asked if he was an overnight guest or an illegal passenger. The blonde shuddered all over. She asked who the stranger was. The girl couldn't understand what Prince Khalid was doing on the ship. The blonde noticed that he and Veronica hadn't seen each other for a long time. With a trembling voice, the girl proved to the prince that this was an absurd misunderstanding. Khalid said that she did not have to make excuses. His Majesty asked what the blonde had forgotten on his ship. Veronica's mind was filled with desperate thoughts. The blonde couldn't believe she had boarded the wrong ship. The girl's body began to tremble violently. The blonde grinned and said it was too late. He asked if the girl wanted to tell him anything. The guy asked her if she was sure she hadn't made a mistake with the ship. The ship suddenly moved, forcing the girl to grab the guy's muscular torso to stay on her feet. Cold sweat began to roll down Veronica's face in small drops. The girl realized that she had to leave immediately. The blonde didn't know what had happened because the ship had moved too suddenly. The prince casually grabbed her fragile hand. With panic in her blue eyes, Veronica tried to figure out when he had managed to use the immobilizing poison. The girl had no other explanation for why she couldn't move. The prince lifted her up and kissed her tenderly. Khalid suddenly threw the girl down on a luxurious carpet and began to tenderly kiss her lips, not paying attention to the man who entered. The blonde pressed Veronica firmly to the floor and hung over her with his massive torso. The girl's legs began to tremble. Clouds were gathering rapidly over the girl's head. Veronica Hillstead was declared a traitor and sentenced to death. The jury began to fuss. The judge asked if the blonde wanted to say anything before she died. Veronica asked hesitantly about her last words. The rain was getting stronger and heavy drops were pouring down on the brunette's head. The supreme judge asked what the girl's last words would be. Veronica sat on her knees, cold rain falling on her fragile body. She looked into the man's eyes with disdain. Veronica smiled and asked when love became a sin. The green-eyed blonde shuddered, afraid that she might reveal his secret. The girl's amethyst eyes sparkled in the semi-darkness, and raindrops slowly trickled down her face. Veronica claimed that she had loved the prince with all her heart, but he had betrayed her. The jury quickly began to discuss this news. People were sure that the brunette had gone completely mad because the count had not even arrived for the trial. People were sure that the count was ashamed of such a daughter. The judge waved his hand wearily and ordered the girl to be taken away. Smiling, Veronica wished her lover happiness. The girl stood in handcuffs, and 2 guards took her by the arm. With tears in her eyes, she looked at the blonde, whose emerald eyes did not express a drop of regret. As Veronica was led away, she smiled madly. The girl was sure that she would be much happier. The convict was asked to move quickly. Soon she was roughly thrown onto the floor in a small cell. The metal door clicked shut. Veronica smiled and asked if she had played well enough. The girl let down her luxurious black hair that fell over her shoulders. The self-haired man noticed that the girl's work was inimitable. Veronica held out her white hand and reminded him that the terms of the contract had been fulfilled. The brunette explained that her father had to pay her. The man coldly responded negatively. The girl suddenly became bolder, because she knew that there was no longer any Veronica Hillstead. The little legs quickly ran in an unknown direction. The girl greedily tore off small pieces of bread with her teeth. She was a commoner and did not know who her real father was. Veronica winced as her bread fell to the floor. The girl's mother sold her because of debts as soon as she turned 10. Entering the room, the brunette asked if the baby's name was Leslie. The woman asked what the brunette could do. She noticed that the girl was quite beautiful. The brunette grabbed the baby roughly by the face, examining her as if she were an ordinary commodity. The woman was sure that when the girl grew up, her beauty would help. Leslie assured Milady that she was smart and learned everything quite quickly. Clenching her little fist tightly, the girl asked to consider another use for her. The brunette asked not to look at her as a living commodity. The brunette laughed and was surprised, since it was the first time someone had asked her to find another use. The woman asked if the orphan knew what they were doing. The woman grinned and explained that every crime needed a witness, and sometimes they hired special actors. She assured that the little girl could become one of those in the future. that she would learn and she would play each role perfectly. The brunette explained that the girl would have to become an heiress, who was considered dead or an illegitimate child or a maid. Later, the little girl's acting skills would become ideal after learning some skills. Soon, many mercenaries and cleansers began to appear among her colleagues. Actors were especially popular for such shady dealings. Smiling, the brunette promised that the little girl would not regret it if she went with her. One day, the woman reported that she had received a very strange order. She claimed that the customer needed a girl who could play the role of his daughter for several years. The brunette quickly realized that this was for revenge or a scam. Leslie asked again what exactly she would have to do if she became a daughter for a while. Shrugging her shoulders, the woman assured that the girl's reward would be equal to her salary for 10 years. Leslie shuddered, imagining the amount of money she would hold in her hands after the end of this deal. The brunette realized how difficult this task would be. Smiling, the lady asked if the offer was too tempting. The woman explained that the actress would be able to pay off her mother's debt with this money without any problems. Leslie realized that if she fulfilled this order, she would no longer have to play someone else's role. There were still doubts in the girl's soul. In the brunette's soul, there was a glimmer of hope to finally become free. The girl resolutely gave her consent. Leslie understood her goal perfectly: to help the prince for 6 years and make him a worthy heir. The brunette knew that her client had to find a suitable aristocrat who would become the guy's bride. The girl knew that later she would be forced to suddenly disappear. The brunette understood that every country should know her under the name Veronica. The girl realized that despite the fact that her entry into high society was postponed due to illness, she had to conquer everyone at her first appearance. Extending his hand, the blonde asked if Veronica would do him the honor of giving him her first dance. She resolutely extended her hand. The guests of the ball began to discuss the girl's appearance. A slight blush appeared on the brunette's face. Veronica reassured herself that everything was going according to their plan. Smiling, she promised to make the prince a king. Veronica noticed that her competitor was spinning under her feet. The blonde knew perfectly well that her father had found a sweet, innocent girl who was perfect for his majesty. Veronica pretended to be competing with the blonde as best she could. Everything went according to plan, because the prince chose the blonde over Veronica. The girl realized that she had to pretend to be blinded by jealousy and poison her rival. Thus, the most beautiful girl of high society became a real villain. The customers' expectations were true, and the poisoning failed, showing everyone that the prince and his entourage were always in danger. Covering his face with his hand, the count said that, to his great regret, he was unable to raise a worthy daughter. Everyone realized that the count would not be able to help in such a hopeless situation. 2 strong guys brought the brunette into the court. The girl assumed that her story would end there, but she returned. Looking at the girl, the brunette noticed that she had created a sea of trouble and returned to the prisoner carts. Laughing, Leslie asked what troubles she was talking about. The brunette asked if she had forgotten how talented she was. Leslie said that everything went as planned. The brunette asked again if the girl was sure of her own words. An elegant hand extended to Leslie a small piece of paper folded several times. The girl asked impatiently if it was some kind of gift. The brunette sighed heavily and said that the leaflet was a wanted poster. The woman told Leslie that she had been betrayed. The brunette was clutching a piece of paper tightly in her hands, shaking with fear. The boss assured her that the girl's client had done it. Leslie asked how this could have happened. The girl suggested that she might have made a mistake somewhere or gotten too carried away and interfered with the count's plans. The brunette realized that the man had acted meanly and wrongly. She remembered perfectly well the count's plan, that the prince had to climb to the very top. Leslie said that the customer, as he wanted, found a suitable bride for his majesty. The girl knew that according to the plan, the villain Veronica was supposed to appear and say that the prince would be only hers. The brunette was sure that this was supposed to be the perfect love story. This was originally intended. The actress knew that status could always be gained by marrying successfully. She just wanted to pay off her debts, and after a successful performance go to a place where no one knew her. The girl dreamed of living a quiet life, close to the seawater, enjoying every day. According to Leslie's plans, a happy ending was to await her after the deal was completed. Crumpling up the piece of paper with the terrible news, the brunette assured that she had done everything as the customer ordered. The actress still couldn't figure out what she had done wrong. Leslie was furious, because for the past few years she had done everything the customer ordered. The girl was furious that he had paid her back with only 10 million gold coins. The brunette noticed that her charge had gotten into the role too well. The woman assumed that this was what had frightened the lord. The girl, breaking into a scream, explained that the brunette did not understand what she was talking about. Smiling, the mentor said that she could get twice as much money if she turned the girl in. The woman thanked the actress for such an incredible opportunity. Cold sweat was running down the brunette's face. Leslie asked if she was going to pay her a fee. The girl was furious that her mentor was going to just throw her out the door. With a cold voice, the boss assured that she realized all the injustice. But first of all, she was worried about herself. The girl's hands were clenched tightly with anger. She ran through the city streets with hysterical laughter. Earrings with precious stones sparkled on the fugitive's ears. The brunette advised her student to go to the port and save her life. The woman admitted that she was her favorite. The boss said that one day she would answer for all her actions. She advised the blonde to take care of her life. The girl was very grateful to that madam. Thanks to the help of her mentor, Leslie was able to disguise herself with magic. The brown-haired man was clutching a small knife tightly in his hand and was anticipating his future 10 million. With madness in his blue eyes, the guy said that he would die anyway and asked to let him earn it. Watching the madmen, the girl realized that this was exactly what she had expected. The blonde knew perfectly well that they had known no pity since childhood. The boys ran around the city streets, saying that they always get what they want. The team promised that sooner or later they would catch her. The boys promised to spend the money wisely. The actress could not believe that they were ready to send her to death, despite the fact that they had worked hand in hand for many years. The blonde realized that the count had specifically declared her wanted, so that he himself would remain white and fluffy. The girl's body trembled in the wind. The sea breeze blew her luxurious long hair. Leslie was outraged that the fool actually thought his plan would work. The boys ran around town wondering if the girl was stupid enough to think she could hide. The bounty hunters told her she had nowhere to run and asked her to just surrender. The blonde stood on the edge of the pier. The sea raged beneath her feet. Stormy waves crashed against a small ledge. The staff reported that the client was so dissatisfied with the girl's work that he declared her wanted. The blonde's gaze fell on the icy water. She dreamed of finally being free. Leslie clutched a small suitcase in her hands. The girl realized that she could not give up, because the freedom she had been striving for so long was very close. Raindrops fell quickly from the sky. A loud sound broke the sky. The hunters begged Leslie to come back. Trying to hide behind their hoods, the boys wondered why it started pouring so suddenly. The hunters assumed that the girl had jumped into the water. One of the guys said that in such weather they wouldn't even be able to find her body. The guy asked his friend to stop such conversations because 10 million were at stake. The brown-haired man asked if she really decided to die. The strong wind and wet clothes made the fugitive shiver violently. Leslie prayed that they would go away and mind their own business. Raising her head to the sky, the blonde noticed that the rain had almost stopped. The girl assumed that she was very lucky. Looking at the shawl decorated with a luxurious pattern and the suitcase with money, Leslie realized that she had lost everything she had. The girl knew that she was now a criminal who had betrayed her country. The blonde was horrified at the cost of her life. Her hands grasped the wooden side of the ship uncertainly. She realized that she had saved her life with great delay. Leslie assumed that this was most likely the ship that Madame had in mind. The blonde prayed that no one would notice her. The guy looked at the uninvited guest in surprise. The girl's heart began to pound wildly when he screamed. Hiding in the closet, the girl prayed to all the saints that she would not be found. The blonde asked whether she was an overnight guest or an illegal passenger. The events quickly moved back 2 years. The customer informed the girl that a delegation from the Kingdom of Iran would soon arrive. The man asked the actress to prepare herself properly for this. It was Earl Hallsteel, a client of Leslie. The corset was digging into the brunette's chest. Veronica could barely breathe in this garment. Hillsteel ordered the girl to pay special attention to Prince Khalid, hugging the count from behind. The brunette asked why he was grumbling at his perfect daughter again. Veronica reported that the customer's work was unbearable. The girl noted that he demanded too much. The actress turned away and asked if she had ever let the count down. Veronica said that she had enough errands for the day. Hillstyle explained that they needed to establish contact with the prince. The brunette explained that she knew it was necessary to improve trade relations with the West. The actress proudly promised that he would never miss such an opportunity. Veronica straightened her long silky hair to become even more attractive. The count grinned and noted that his daughter was as perceptive as ever. The man insisted that she should be careful. as the enemy could always be stronger. At the ball, they discussed that the prince's ship was filled with gold. His Highness's delegation consisted of more than 100 people. The woman sighed, imagining how much treasure that ship had brought. The interlocutor coldly asked whether the woman had seen the prince with her own eyes. The brunette reported that His Majesty was very difficult to describe in words, because the guy's face and body were perfect. The man reported that His Majesty was heading their way and was magnificent as always. The mere appearance of the blonde could deprive people of all feelings. Noble ladies sighed dreamily, looking at the luxurious body of the guy, covering her grin with a fan that had luxurious black lace in the shape of flowers on it. The girl wondered if she would be able to get along with the guy. Veronica assured her father not to worry. She folded her fan and had a sly expression on her face. The prince noticed that the brunette looked like a puppy. The girl asked him in surprise what he had said. His Majesty explained that the girl was wagging her tail contentedly, as if she were a small puppy. Cold sweat was trickling down the blonde's cheek. Leslie had a bad feeling about this. His Majesty asked the girl what she had forgotten on his ship. She belatedly realized that it was Khalid's ship. The blonde, shaking all over, realized that she had gotten on the wrong ship. The blonde, hovering over her, asked if she wanted to tell him anything. Leslie realized that Madame had been too cruel to her. The prince asked if the girl was sure that she had entered the right room. The blonde knew she had to escape at any cost before the ship moved. Khalid grabbed her hand unceremoniously. The girl realized that he had guessed that she had a paralyzing poison under her fingernails. Leslie extended her tender lips to him and whispered that he asked for it. The door creaked open. Bowing, the blonde addressed His Highness. There was surprise in the green eyes, and the body trembled. Hearing extraneous sounds, the girl tried to understand what was happening. To her regret, the blonde could not resist the appearance of His Highness. Leslie did not like her current situation at all. One of the subjects remarked that they should be glad that the prince was feeling well. With cold beads of sweat on his cheek, the brown-haired man asked Mr. Simon if the girl had managed to escape. The blonde said that if they spotted a refugee, they should immediately throw her off the ship. Simon said that there was no room for any trash on their ship. The guy promised to check on His Highness a little later. The blonde realized that it was not worth going there and it was better to look for the fugitive. Getting up from the bed, the blonde turned to his subordinate. The prince's muscular body hung over Simon. Having bowed, the subject heard the order of His Majesty to stop the search. The prince reported that there were no strangers on the ship. Smiling, the boy said that they should prepare for departure. Khalid assured that he left everything to the boy. Leaning against the wall, the prince noticed that the girl had hit him twice. The blonde insisted that he understood why she had hit him the first time, but he considered the second time undeserved. Curled up in a ball, Leslie watched his every move carefully. His Majesty joked that if they were seen, they would think he wanted to take her by force. The girl noted with a trembling voice that he had tried to rape her. The crown prince looked down. The boy had come to Weldon on trade matters. The girl tried to calm herself down, as if everything that happened was only for the best. Leslie blushed and fell to her knees, insisting that she had the wrong ship. She begged the prince to pretend he had not seen her and to let her leave in peace. Smiling, Khalid asked if beating people was part of her daily routine. The handsome man was clearly interested in the girl. The prince smiled and asked how he could forget that she was a criminal. And with a satisfied face, he showed her the wanted poster. Covering her face, the blonde did not understand how the guy managed to recognize her through the disguise. The prince grinned and ordered the girl not to tell him the sad story. Khalid explained that they knew each other very well. The guy admitted that it was hard for him to forget their first meeting. The blonde recalled when she obediently wagged her tail like a submissive puppy. The girl froze in anticipation of a cruel punishment. Veronica realized with fear that up to this moment she had never deviated from the plan. The girl could not ignore such an insult. Khalid admitted that he was not very familiar with the customs and language of this country. Looking seriously at Veronica, the guy assured her that he wanted to point out her merits. The foreigner assumed that this sounded insulting. The brunette smiled falsely. Veronica noted that she was amazed at her knowledge of their language. The actress suggested that soon the prince would not need a translator. The brunette advised the guy to learn to read people's emotions. Approaching the girl, the brown-haired man suggested that it wasn't worth it. The girl coldly cut him off. If he thought that she was thirsty for his attention, then he was very much mistaken. Khalid shuddered at such words. Approaching the prince, the blonde assumed that there had been a misunderstanding. The girl's voice trembled and hatred was visible in her amber eyes. Luckily for the actress, the bride arrived in time and saved the situation. Thanks to the blonde, both parties were able to reach an agreement. The count noted that the work had been done beautifully. The customer asked Veronica to continue to treat the prince carelessly. The man said that it was necessary for the prince's bride to get closer to the blonde man. Veronica knew it wouldn't be difficult, since she hadn't made the best first impression. Every day the girl got more and more used to the role. The brunette said that the barbarian will remain a barbarian, even if he is hung with gold. Veronica grinned and asked the guy to look at himself from the outside. The actress asked if he was ashamed to appear at the banquet practically naked. The brunette wondered if he couldn't afford decent clothes. Veronica wondered if the prince liked looking like a barbarian. The girl would never have said something like that if she knew the guy a little better. Khalid noticed that the girl was not quiet at all. The guy roughly grabbed her earring with an unusual stone. The blonde squeezed the jewel tightly, causing it to sparkle. Lacey was disappointed because the magical artifact was very difficult to obtain. Wearing the stone took a lot of energy from the girl. Because of this, the actress played the role of Veronica using her real appearance. Scary thoughts flashed through the girl's head. She couldn't understand who the prince was and how he was able to notice her magical disguise. Lacey tried her best to use disguise to hide the fact that you were Veronica. The blonde couldn't understand how he could have exposed her. Khalid suggested that the refugee talk frankly. The blonde asked whether the girl was his night guest or a criminal on the run. The brunette grinned and asked what the prince thought of her. Throwing on a robe embroidered with gold threads, the guy assumed that she was a faithful dog that followed the orders of its owner. Khalid called the name, from which the amethyst eyes of the girl dimmed. Turning away, the brunette could not understand why he remembered the Prince of Weldon. His Majesty assumed that the guy had drawn the brunette into this scam. The brunette grinned and realized that he was thinking that she had become a criminal, and climbed onto his ship because of the first prince. The blonde explained that she would easily go to the depths of hell if Prince Daniel so desired. Such a reaction was not surprising to Lacey. The foreigner asked if she was really ready to do something like that for that. Smiling, the brunette realized that her game was really convincing. The girl said that she was on the ship of her own free will. The brunette hoped that this trick would work. Khalid sternly asked him not to deny what had been said. The prince explained that he had seen very well what had been happening recently. The blonde man settled comfortably on a small sofa. Khalid asked what role the girl liked the most. The guy deftly twirled the golden goblet in his hands. He asked again whether the girl was a guest, a stowaway, or a loyal puppy. The girl assumed she was the infamous villain. Lacey explained that the guy could have chosen any role and she would have no problem playing it. The blonde asked the girl if everything that was happening to her was a game. With surprise in his eyes, Khalid asked if her endless love for the prince was fake. Lacey admitted that this was one of the wishes of her client, whose name she could not divulge. The girl hesitantly extended her hand and took a golden goblet decorated with a luxurious ornament. With genuine surprise in his amber eyes, the blonde asked if she had gone so far just to please the client. The brunette was amazed that the prince actually believed her. The girl explained that as long as she received the appropriate payment, she was ready to play any role. The prince asked if all the girl's actions were about money. The blonde took a sip of expensive wine from his glass. Khalid said that in the east of the Iran Empire, there was a small city called Surayev, which was surrounded by an endless desert. The prince said that there were 3 rooms in the city. The first was filled with gold, the second with silver, and the third with precious stones. The blonde said that Lacey could choose any of them. The girl asked if he wanted to book her as an actress. The brunette asked with distrust what role she would have to play. The prince reminded her that she had tried on the role of a villain and suggested playing the role of an exemplary and loving bride. The guy's eyes showed genuine pity. Khalid suggested the girl to play the one he would fall in love with at first sight. Gently lifting her tender face, he looked into her amethyst eyes. The prince explained that everyone who saw them would have to believe in her game. Smiling, the blonde man approached the girl's face. The guy asked if it was so difficult for her to answer that she continued to evade the answer. Taking her hand, Khalid confessed that he liked what she did earlier. The guy remembered that Veronica hugged him like that and kissed him. A barely noticeable smile appeared on the brunette's face. The prince reminded her that she had said that she could play any role. Raising her eyes, the girl agreed to play. Khalid squeezed her hand tightly. He said that in that case they would sail away immediately, and he kissed her gallantly. There was a bustle on board. The entire crew of the ship was preparing to sail to the Empire. Above the sails, a scattering of stars was visible. On the ship, a guy stood looking into the distance. He said that somehow everything was unexpected. Another approached him and said that there was no longer any reason to delay the departure. The blonde reported that His Majesty had found the bride he had been looking for so long. A smile appeared on the guy's face, because they had done everything they wanted. The assistant asked his colleague how he felt. The blonde, with sadness in his eyes, reminded that they had never been able to find the boy's little sister. Smiling, the brown-haired man said that he was completely fine. The muscular guy said that it was worth considering that there was no news from the girl, and suggested that she was not in Wesson. Laughing, he assured that what was more important was that they had a crown princess. The blonde said that he had another piece of news. The guy claimed that Lana had caught a spy. Shaden asked if the spy had been following them since they left Iran. The night guard suggested that she had lost her patience and was soon returning to the Empire. The blonde reported that the spy had tried to seduce the prince. The guard asked in horror what His Highness had said. The assistant sighed heavily and assumed that the guy knew what the prince was like. His Highness was not very interested in women, and the spy chose the most terrible way. The waves splashed against the sides of the ship. The brunette became wary because it seemed to her that everything was going too smoothly. Leslie was surprised that she hadn't even signed a contract and was already being treated so well. There was an expensive bottle of wine and a lot of food on the table in front of the girl. The brunette hesitantly asked if it was true that all the treats were intended for her. Leslie wondered if the treat had been laced with poison. She tried to convince herself that if she ate a little, nothing bad would happen. She speared the juicy steak with her fork. The girl was delighted with the taste of the food. Unfortunately, the brunette could not lose her vigilance. Leslie found it suspicious that the prince decided to set sail just as she was boarding. The girl did not know the reason why the ship sailed away without warning anyone. The brunette couldn't understand why the prince would take such a risk. Leslie realized that nothing happened for no reason. She looked at the juicy steak on the cutlery with disbelief. She knew that nothing had happened by itself. Entering the room, the prince asked if the guest liked the food. The actress reported with pleasure that the dishes were quite good. The girl asked if Khalid wanted to join in. Leslie said she had something she wanted to discuss with him. The brunette said she planned to get straight to the point. The girl openly stated that she suspected that the prince was hiding something. Leslie asked what exactly he was hiding before signing the contract. Khalid asked in surprise what she meant. The blonde took the glass and said that he had nothing to hide. The guy admitted that he had kept something quiet. After these words, the actress began to get very nervous. The prince poured expensive wine into a luxurious glass. Khalid said that the girl had been his goal from the very beginning. The blonde assured that what he so craved had come to him by itself. The prince explained that it was because of her that he had not planned to set sail so quickly. Khalid asked what was the point of delaying any longer now. The girl frantically grabbed the table knife from the table. The brunette asked with distrust whether he had planned to hire an actor in Fiore from the very beginning. There was genuine surprise on the guy's face. Leslie explained that he could have said so straight away. The brunette realized why the guy had been so careless even after he found out she was Veronica. The girl guessed that he had ordered her to be found and had sailed away immediately so that she would not change her mind. The brunette drank some more of the intoxicating drink. Looking down, Leslie realized everything. The girl was surprised that the prince was hunting for the actress who played Veronica. Leslie asked him again if he knew who she was all this time, and she wondered why he had forced her to admit it herself. The blonde asked in confusion how he could have known that. Leslie assumed that the guy himself initially knew about the eye under his nails, the magical disguise. The girl was disappointed, because she was the only one who received the magical artifact from Madame. Leslie was sure that it was her and the brunette's secret, and she was horrified that she had betrayed her when she became unnecessary. The brunette couldn't understand why. The girl considered herself a good actress. She was holding the table knife tightly, holding it behind her back. Until this moment, Leslie had been sure that Madame was one of those who kept her promises. The actress bowed her head and asked how much it cost the prince. Khalid noticed that the girl was talking like that, but he did something bad. Frowning, the brunette asked if her guesses were correct. Leslie realized that she had cost the guy a pretty penny. The brunette remembered that she had reached the port earlier than she had expected. The girl remembered that despite the fact that she had left unnoticed, they immediately chased after her, as if they had been waiting for her on purpose. The actress was sure that the guys only wanted the money that they had promised for her head. Now the girl realized that they were clearly trying to force her onto the ship. Khalid admitted that he felt a little awkward. The girl, breaking into a scream, asked if this was how such a situation was described in the Iran Empire. There was rage in her amethyst eyes. Khalid suggested that was what the incident was called. The actress said that in her homeland it was called being cheated. The prince asked if they were talking about the same thing. The blonde suggested that he could tell that they weren't. Leslie assumed that he was sure that he could boss her around because she was too polite. The brunette jumped up from her chair. The girl walked confidently towards the blonde. She stretched her soft, velvety hands to his neck. The brunette said that she saw right through him and kissed him tenderly. Her hands were shaking from the excitement that was in the air. The prince gripped the armrest tightly, enjoying the moment of the kiss. Luckily, her expectations were confirmed and the guy had an instant reaction. Khalid began to gently stroke her silky hair and kiss her tender lips. The actress was glad that the prince did not object when someone took the initiative. She noticed that he was not going to give up his superiority anyway. The prince held the actress tightly by the waist. The girl did not understand why her client was so good at kissing. The brunette's hands trembled with pleasure. Leslie clearly heard her heartbeat in her ears. Her cheeks were covered with a crimson blush. The girl understood that Khalid was thirsty for her. Leslie carefully placed the table knife on the table as she no longer felt any danger. The actress understood that she could take advantage of the guy's love. The prince asked what she wanted to tell him. The brunette turned away abruptly and asked why she suddenly had to answer his questions. Khalid couldn't help but laugh. Leslie said they should go back to discussing the contract. The girl knew she shouldn't get emotional. The prince asked again about the contract. The actress explained that since he hired her, it was a formality. Smiling, the brunette asked the prince not to forget that they were now collaborating. The setting sun painted the sky a warm pastel color. Seagulls hovered near the ship, hoping to get some food. Clouds of steam rose in the luxurious bathroom. Sitting in his jacuzzi, the blonde enjoyed the scent of rose petals floating in the water. Khalid thought about the contract. The blonde man was surprised and asked if His Highness was being completely serious. Simon reminded him that the crown princess would have to protect peace and quiet in the Iran Empire together with the prince in the future. The blonde looked down. The assistant asked what would happen when the contract ended. Simon was outraged that the guy would let his fiancée leave after the contract ended. The prince asked his assistant to discuss such a topic more quietly. Khalid wondered what would happen if his assistant was heard by people who should not know. Looking around nervously, the blonde reminded that the actress did not know their language. Drops of water slowly trickled down the gentleman's legs. The prince explained that he agreed with what the actress had said. The blonde took a snow-white towel and tied it around his waist. Drops of water flowed down his muscular torso. Khalid admitted that he did not know the details, but his fiancée was an actress. The blonde explained that the girl was capable of playing absolutely any role. The prince claimed that Veronica Hillsdale was just one of the brunette's many roles. Holding the towel, the assistant noticed that the prince and the girl had a very strange deal. Simon asked how it happened that the blonde agreed to such a contract. The prince threw a towel over his golden hair. The guy admitted that he could not understand what the girl was really thinking, and therefore decided to accept her offer. The assistant asked in surprise what the prince had done. Smiling, Khalid said that in any case it was connected with his purpose. The visibly nervous guy asked His Highness how he had figured this out. Smiling, the blonde asked if he had told his assistant how much he valued his honesty. Simon explained that he preferred that His Majesty tell him about the crown princess. Smiling, the prince said that he was quite smart and could offer a solution to the problem. The blonde explained that due to the ban, he could not talk about it. Khalid didn't know how to tell the girl that they had met more than 10 years ago. The blonde claimed that they had made a promise to each other. Standing in front of Irina's luxurious coat of arms, the girl began to doubt whether she had done the right thing. She looked closely at the blood-red flag of the empire. Only now did the actress begin to understand how far away the empire was. Warm sea waves rolled rhythmically and splashed against the high side of the ship. The prince ordered to search every corner to find Veronica. There was rage in the guy's emerald eyes. For the people of Weldon, Irene was a place that was difficult to enter. A malicious grin appeared on the customer's face. The man could not understand where the actress had gone without his permission. Smiling, the brunette explained that they were not accepting new orders at the moment. The woman noted that this was very sad news for her. The boss's ears were adorned with earrings with artifacts for camouflage. The madam explained that she could offer the customer something else instead. The man looked at the brunette with disapproval. Leslie assumed she had made the best choice. The ship sailed across the sea without a single wave. Seagulls were hovering above the huge vessel. The brunette reassured herself that no one would find her. Having turned around, the actress planned to live a wonderful life. The girl quickly moved away from the luxurious flag of the empire. Simon handed the gentleman a snow-white towel. The blonde suggested that he tell the girl about it in a couple of days. Wiping small drops of water from his luxurious torso, the prince lowered his head and reported that it was useless. The assistant reminded that in 3 days they would reach neutral waters. The blonde reminded that the ban would no longer apply outside the country. Simon explained that the girl did not even remember him. The guy assumed that if he told his beloved about what happened 10 years ago, she would think that he was poking around in her past and would hate him. Khalid lowered his amber eyes, sadness in them. The assistant asked how they could fix this. The blonde was determined to seduce the girl. Simon reminded that this was the last option that should be resorted to. The prince decided to make sure that the girl would remain with him even after the end of the contract. Simon could not believe his ears that his master was using such vulgar language. The blonde said that it would be difficult even for him. The prince understood perfectly well that the girl was not as simple as she seemed at first glance. Simon jerked his head sharply, suggesting that his master was thinking in the wrong direction. The blonde asked how Khalid was going to win the girl's heart. The boy told his assistant that he had to figure out how to do it. The prince reminded him that it was the blonde's job. Simon sighed heavily and said that he did not understand His Highness at all. The guy admitted that he was not so good in this area. The assistant saw His Highness with such an expression on his face for the first time. Khalid asked whether he should walk in front of the girl in clothes or naked. A huge stream of water came out of the assistant's mouth. The assistant, trembling all over, explained that even if the girl seemed to like powerful men, in reality she might prefer more modest ones. Simon, breaking into a scream, asked if His Highness was really the same prince he knew. The blonde suggested that Khalid was possessed by a demon. The assistant asked the blonde not to act rashly. Simon warned that this could only frighten the crown princess. Looking closely into the impudent man's eyes, the prince asked if he was sure of his thoughts. Averting his green eyes, he admitted that he was not entirely sure of his judgments. Khalid sternly asked why he was giving advice if he was not sure. In a trembling voice, the assistant asked His Highness for forgiveness. The prince was wondering what clothes he should choose to seduce her. Breaking into a scream, Simon asked the blonde to stop saying something like that. The boy looked back to stop his assistant from destroying his ideas, and reminded him that he was his right hand. Simon winced and asked again if he had ever neglected his duties. He sighed heavily and assumed that the girl had been through a lot. He dreamed of erasing her sad past and making her the happiest girl on the continent. The assistant smiled and said that there was no point in clinging to the past, and reminded them that the couple had the opportunity to build a bright future together. Khalid agreed that the boy was right. The prince suggested that the girl might not remember the promise they had made to each other many years ago. The blonde was determined, even if she never remembered what they had talked about. Khalid promised never to leave the girl alone again. The prince hoped that time would be on his side. The guy promised that his beloved would enjoy all the delights of life, be it food, expensive clothes, or jewelry. Khalid reminded that the brunette was his fiancée. Smiling, Simon suggested taking advantage of this opportunity. The prince was sure that he would pierce the brunette's lonely heart, erasing all her painful memories. The girl lay curled up on the sofa. A huge tent with burgundy translucent tulle hung over Leslie's head. The brunette was tormented by nightmares that reminded her of the time when she was just a commodity. Breathing heavily, the actress jumped out of bed. The brunette couldn't remember when she fell asleep. There was an insistent knock on the big door. Leslie stared in that direction. The girl asked, displeased, why knock so loudly? The door creaked, causing the brunette to run up and open the door. With distrust, Leslie asked why the crown prince had ordered the guy to guard her peace. The girl assumed that he was still accepting his guilt. The brown-haired man shuddered and confirmed Leslie's assumptions. The actress understood that this was her chance to gather more information. She looked closely into the guy's ruby eyes. The girl asked if the guard would mind if she asked him a couple of questions. Putting his hand on her chest, the brown-haired man assured her that the girl could ask whatever she wanted. Taking a notebook and a pen, the brunette asked what the position of women was in arena. The guard said that before the wedding, the couple discusses whose surname the family will carry. The guy explained that in their country it often happens that the woman is the head of the family. Leslie reported that in Weldon it was quite different. The girl asked with distrust whether the princess would be trusted with affairs of state. The guard admitted that he was not competent in this matter. The actress asked what was in arena regarding diplomatic relations. The brown-haired man blushed and explained that he wasn't sure of the answer to that question either. The girl laughed and reminded him that he had given her permission to ask whatever she wanted. The guy quickly blushed. The prince entered the room with his torso bare. The girl was holding a paper in her hands. She was visibly glad that he had returned. Khalid asked if she was expecting him. Leslie asked the blonde to come to her for a minute and said that they needed to conclude their contract. For a few moments the blonde froze, enjoying her attention. But when he caught the brunette's gaze on him, he asked what had happened. Khalid couldn't understand why the girl wasn't embarrassed by the fact that he had just left. And the actress became wary when she saw the prince's serious expression. She sincerely hoped that contracts were also being made in Iran's empire. Laughing, the girl said that this contract would only come into effect after the client and the actor agreed to the demands. The requirements stated that the actor had to conscientiously perform the role requested by the client as a foreign bride with whom he fell in love at first sight. The demand was that the prince protect the identity of an actor from the Kingdom of Weldon. The third point of the contract was that he had to provide the actress with any information she was interested in, financial and psychological support. The final clause was that upon completion of the contract, the client was to reward the girl with an amount equivalent to 10 million Weldon gold coins. Handing over the paper, the girl asked to finish with this. The brunette hoped that the contract would last no more than 2 years. Leslie explained that the longer the contract lasts, the higher the likelihood of problems arising, as when she played Veronica. Khalid noted that the contract had a strong impact on the girl. The actress warned that if they dragged it out for more than 2 years, people might get suspicious. The prince asked what the reason for this conclusion was. The girl explained that since they would not have a child, it would be quite suspicious. Noticing the blonde's embarrassment, the actress asked what was wrong. Coughing, the prince explained that there was nothing wrong with it. Leslie guessed that if she was like his bride, they would be forced to sleep together. The girl pointed her finger at his security document and said that he would need to use contraception. The girl explained that she had no intention of engaging in unprotected sex. Noticing the client's confusion, the girl asked if he had listened to her. Khalid grabbed her roughly by the waist and asked if the contract had been concluded. The blonde lifted the actress into his arms, reminding her that they were now a couple and needed to do what was right. Leslie explained that he had to sign the contract first. The prince said that the girl could do whatever she wanted with the contract. The blonde said that from now on he would do whatever he wanted. The guy threw the actress onto the bed and pressed the girl tightly to the soft mattress. He looked closely into her amethyst eyes. Khalid sat next to the sleeping girl. He looked closely at her beautiful features. The prince carefully moved her silky hair. Long strands instantly fell on the soft bed. Looking at the earrings, the blonde immediately realized that Leslie had fallen asleep before she had time to do anything. The girl mumbled something. She was having another nightmare. Khalid carefully covered the fragile body with a blanket. The blonde gently kissed his beloved on the forehead and asked her to fall asleep quickly. The ship was still sailing, cutting through the seawater. Kneeling, Lana begged the blonde to let her look at the future crown princess. After the negative answer, the girl still did not calm down and begged the prince's right hand for permission. Simon chuckled that at that moment there was no time for something like that. The brunette, trembling all over, asked why the guy's answer was like that. Approaching Lana, the brother asked the girl to stand up. Waving her arms, the brunette said that she wanted to meet the new princess. The girl did not stop begging to see the new princess. Lana explained that she wanted to get the girl's blessing. Looking at the picture, the blonde said that she was not even surprised by such antics of Lana. The boy reminded that despite how the patrol commander behaved, when it came to battle she had no equal. Lana was unstoppable during the attack on the Sarai. With her abilities, the brunette was able to win the prince's trust. The brunette was talented in combat, and when it came to battle, the field was filled with blood. Sweetly stretching, the girl said that she would also like to meet the new princess. Smiling, the brunette said that he had heard that her beauty was unrivaled. Okay, she still couldn't calm down and asked her colleagues to let her go. Bowing, the guy asked for forgiveness for his sister's behavior. Smiling, Simon said that they remembered the girl's achievements. San knew they had to behave appropriately. Shaitan knew that despite being from a poor village, they had earned the attention of the prince. The boy assumed that the prince considered them a burden. Placing a hand on San's shoulder, the blonde reminded him that the twins were talented warriors who deserved to be trusted. Simon asked the guard to always hold his head high. A barely noticeable smile appeared on the brown-haired man's face, and his ruby eyes lit up with praise. The bright rays of the sun woke up Brunette quite quickly. Standing up, Leslie looked at the customer. The prince asked if the crown princess enjoyed her bath. The girl's eyes sparkled and her cheeks turned red. The brunette thanked him, assuring him that it was divine. The girl felt awkward because she was trying to wash the poison out from under her nails. Leslie explained that after everything that had happened the night before, the bath was a wonderful way to start the day. The prince, embarrassed, said he was glad the girl had enjoyed it. The brunette noticed that the maids were behaving strangely. Leslie explained that she was not sure of her assumptions, since she did not know their language well. Steam from the hot water quickly filled the small room. Two girls carefully massaged the hands and head of the new mistress. Leslie enjoyed the massage and the subtle scent of rose petals. For a few moments, the girl felt like she was in heaven. The red-haired girl looked at her new mistress and smiled radiantly. The actress could not understand why the maids cared so much about her. Smiling back, the brunette thanked the maid. A blush appeared on the maid's face. Turning around, the girl began to talk about something with her colleagues. Leslie was wary because she did not understand a word of what they were saying. The brunette was genuinely surprised by such concern. The girl got the impression that the maids were not at all surprised by the appearance of the crown princess. Smiling, Khalid asked if she liked it. The guy explained that he had ordered the servants to take care of the brunette. The girl frowned and said that was not what she had meant. For Leslie, such care was a pleasant surprise. Having given in to the girl, the prince said that he needed to apologize for yesterday. A little confused, Leslie asked him what he meant. The blonde felt bad for not being able to finish what he started last night. He hovered over the actress, staring into her amethyst eyes. Khalid began to pull his lips to hers. The brunette shuddered and informed His Highness that she was not ready for something like this until they had clarified a few more things. The guy asked again how this could be, because it seemed to him that she was very ready. The prince unceremoniously pointed to the golden bracelets that adorned the brunette's graceful hand. Leslie pulled her hand away sharply and asked for forgiveness. The blonde was not confused for a second, and he reached for her desired lips. Gently stroking his cheek, the girl asked him to wait. The prince reminded her that they were together in a small room and gently touched her thigh. He pressed on the leg and forced the girl to lift the limb. Khalid asked the actress how much longer he could hold back. The girl, embarrassed, asked to wait another minute. With a trembling hand, she pointed to some movement and asked what it was. The big cat's tail wagged from side to side. The prince asked in surprise if this was the first time the girl had seen Teru. Leslie repeated the animal's name. The tiger lay on a small sofa, carefully examining the lovers. The prince explained that unlike Weldon, Irina still had magic. Khalid explained that every inhabitant of the country possessed a piece of it. The blonde explained that those who possessed particularly strong magic could give it shape. The guy assured that this was how the guardian spirits of the Terra were born. Khalid claimed that no one could usually support Terra outside the Empire's borders, and he boasted that he was the only one who could do it. The prince gently tucked the brunette's hair behind her ear. The guy asked the girl not to worry. He claimed that the ethereal beast would not harm her. Khalid suggested the actress to continue what they had started. The girl stuttered and tried to say something. The blonde man asked excitedly if she wanted to continue. The sounds of his heartbeat echoed in Leslie's ears. The girl admitted with a trembling voice that on the contrary, she really wanted to. The brunette fell in love with his hugs, gentle touches, and passionate kisses. The actress realized that kissing was one thing, but she couldn't have sex with him. The girl was ashamed to admit that she had never done it. From childhood, Leslie was taught that the only thing that matters is the mission and to act decisively. Madame ordered her students to never give up their hearts, and to remember that they always had to act rationally and control their emotions. The brunette understood that such actions could be too dangerous for her. The actress slightly pushed the guy away and bowed her head. Khalid asked what she said. Pushing him away, the brunette said that she would not tolerate unprotected sex. The prince said that he had already taken care of everything. He pointed to the gold bracelets jingling on his wrist. The boy explained that one bracelet was enough to prevent conception. The prince blushed and explained that she had put on all three, and he decided that this was a sign that she was ready to become one. The girl remembered the maid's reaction and understood why she was in such a good mood. Until that moment, the brunette could not even think that the bracelet was a means of contraception. The prince claimed that he was sure that the girl knew about it from the very beginning. He grabbed the girl abruptly and lifted her up in his arms. A slight blush appeared on Leslie's face. Khalid carried her confidently into the box. With her heart pounding, the girl explained that she could not do this without preparation. The blonde suggested going to bed since the girl was protected from conception. There was confidence in her amber eyes. The actress, very embarrassed, insisted that another clause needed to be added to the contract. Pushing him away, the brunette said that no extra sex was needed. The actress said that she was ready to do anything as long as the role required it. The brunette assured that she was not obliged to be in the role all the time. Handing him the papers, the girl reminded him that it was a simple formality. The guy shuddered slightly at such news. The customer said that she could do with her discretion. The brunette quickly wrote a new clause in their contract. She handed the paper over and asked the prince to sign it. Leslie asked if he had come up with a new name for her. The brunette said that she could continue using the name Veronica. The guy was genuinely surprised, since he was sure that she would use her real name. The girl said that this act was too dangerous. Leslie reminded that her name had to remain secret. The prince suggested the name Neris for the girl. Khalid explained that the name meant sea fairy. The brunette's heartbeat echoed in her ears again. She still couldn't admit to herself that she had fallen in love with the guy. Seeing her confusion, the blonde asked if she liked the name. The girl noticed that the guy's smile was very strange and she considered him a weirdo. The brunette agreed that the name Neris sounded good. The actress signed the new amendments to the contract without hesitation. The blonde man asked her with concern how she felt. San asked his colleague to calm down, explaining that Tara had really scared the captive. Walking to the place of imprisonment of the girl, the blonde noticed that she hid for a long time. The guy assumed that she used concealment magic. Bowing, the guard assured that they still had not figured it out. The assistant asked if they had learned anything about the nature of magic. The guy claimed that everything had happened too quickly, and they had not been able to understand. The colleague stood near the cage, which was locked with many locks. With each movement of the captive, the chains made an unpleasant sound. Simon assumed that she had completely lost hope. The door of the wooden cage creaked open. Shaitan explained that he could interrogate Simon personally and that Simon should not worry. The right hand reported that there was no need for this. The blonde assumed that once they reached the Empire, the girl would be finished. The guard asked if he wanted to extract all the magic from the girl. The blonde screamed furiously and beat her hands on the floor. Looking at his colleague, San noted that this punishment was even more terrible than death. The prince's assistant inserted the key into the heavy padlock and turned it. Simon asked how Lana was feeling. The brown-haired man assured her that his sister was as active as ever. The guard standing by the cage bowed to the boys in farewell. He said that the girl beat him up with the words that they should act together. The last sentence explained why the guard's body was covered with numerous bruises. Simon said that they would soon be arriving. The blonde was sure that he should have been more vigilant. The captive looked at the guys with disdain. The chains continued to jingle. The blonde grabbed the bars and squeezed them tightly. The metal gleamed beautifully in the light of the lamps. Soon the moon hung over the sea surface. Simon bowed and said that it was a great honor for him to meet Her Highness. The blonde asked for forgiveness for such a sudden visit. The girl laughed and explained that everything was fine. The brunette assumed that they had met before. A slight blush appeared on the cheeks of her right hand. That vulgar moment flashed before the boy's eyes. Leslie thanked the blonde for his hard work. The crown princess sincerely hoped that they would get along well in the future. Simon, very embarrassed, said that he had to thank the girl. The blonde promised that he would do everything possible for her as the dear crown princess. The blonde sighed heavily and asked his right hand to do what he asked. The assistant indifferently said that he was ready to do whatever His Highness ordered. Khalid noticed that she had slept poorly and assumed that his beloved might have fallen ill. The blonde ordered Simon to check the health of his beloved. Leaning over the princess, the guy asked Her Highness to allow him to examine her body. The girl gave her consent without hesitation. Simon grabbed her face. He opened her eyes wider, peering into them. Leslie was surprised by such a method of examination. The assistant suggested that the girl had no health problems. The blonde explained that he was concerned because the princess was so petite. The actress covered her eye with her hand and was amazed that in addition to being the prince's assistant, the guy was also a doctor. The prince suggested that they should have fed the girl better. The blonde asked if there was anything else he should have worried about. The doctor reported that she looked quite healthy. Leslie noticed that the advisor seemed quite experienced. The girl realized that she should get closer to the guy, as it could be useful. The blonde said he needed to check something. The guy asked his assistant to take care of the princess while he was gone. Khalid suddenly shuddered and asked his assistant not to blab too much. Looking up, Leslie asked if she could ask a question. She wondered if the prince had said anything about her identity. Simon said that His Highness said that she was his bride and the ruler of Sarayev. The blonde said that the girl would become the ruler of the Iran Empire in the future. The brunette, alert, asked if that was all the information that was known about her. The assistant remembered that Khalid had said that he had fallen in love with her at first sight. Simon assured that he knew that she did not know their language and loved red wine. Smiling, the assistant said that His Majesty ordered the workers to prepare the best dishes for her. The brunette's hand clenched tightly from such information. Leslie realized that the blonde had decided to fatten her up. Lowering his gaze, the blonde apologized for his behavior. The guy asked if she had any other questions. The brunette admitted that she didn't quite understand the guy. The actress asked why no one was surprised by her appearance. The assistant explained that the guard she met when she boarded did not remember her face. Simon explained that almost no one on the ship knew Weldon. The blonde explained that the crew had no idea what had happened on the mainland. He said that his subordinates could not read what was written on the wanted poster. The crown princess was very confused that the blonde knew about Veronica. Leslie assumed that he knew her native language better than Khalid. The blonde looked at her with disdain. The girl realized that he clearly understood all the nasty things she said. The brunette asked if he was against it, even knowing who she really was. The guy promised to prove his sincerity with his actions. He bowed deeply before Her Highness. The actress looked away, trying not to get nervous. Simon asked excitedly if everything was okay. The girl thanked him in advance. The brunette said that she was looking forward to being in his care. The guy's face turned slightly red as he hadn't expected to hear such warm words. Confused, Leslie asked if everything was okay with the blonde. The assistant politely asked Her Highness how he could be of service. The girl held out her hand with snow-white skin and asked if other people wore similar bracelets. Simon said that the only person who wore similar bracelets besides her was Prince Khalid. The blonde explained that the bracelets were very valuable and were prepared especially for the girl. Looking at the jewelry, Leslie asked if it was the blonde's treasure. With surprise in his emerald eyes, the assistant confirmed the actress's assumption. Looking at the valuable jewelry, the actress realized that the prince was planning to use the jewelry with other girls. Leslie looked at the jewel with some distrust. Taking the initiative, the assistant decided to tell her about the crown prince. The blonde told that his master was the heir of the Hartman dynasty, the empire of Iran. Khalid was the most worthy heir to the throne. The blonde was not only smart but also talented in martial arts since childhood. Khalid had no equal in any of the disciplines. Simon said that because of the gentleman's position and beauty, he had no end of women. Looking away, the brunette said that she had already guessed about it. The aide said that His Highness had never been involved in any scandalous relationship. The aide said without a shadow of a doubt that the prince was perfection itself. The blonde claimed that Khalid had neither a bride nor a concubine. Simon said that he was not interested in women at all. Leslie knew perfectly well that there were those with whom the prince slept. The assistant smiled and suggested that the only women the prince had dealings with were those who served him in bed. With calmness in her voice, the brunette noted that she knew nothing at all about the groom. The girl frowned, having learned all the information. Simon, very nervous, assumed that he had said something wrong. The blonde remembered that he had told him what a wonderful person the prince was. The brunette sighed heavily and asked what the people would say about the prince bringing an unknown girl and calling her his bride. And she assumed that the people would treat her with caution. Smiling, Simon admitted that the people were a little surprised. The assistant assured them that they believed in any choice of the crown prince. Surprise and distrust flashed in Leslie's eyes. The girl asked why the people trusted the blonde so much. Simon said that finally someone had appeared who could fill the heart of the crown prince. Looking away, the blonde realized that unfortunately he couldn't tell the girl about magic because of the ban. The assistant assured the brunette that she need not worry, as the principal was completely charmed by her. The door creaked open. Entering the room, the guy noticed that they got along well. The blonde gave his assistant an unkind look. Khalid said that the assistant could leave if he finished the conversation. The brunette was a little taken aback, because the prince himself brought the blonde to tell her how the crown princess should behave. Simon assured her that he should take his leave. Despite the girl's expectations that he was quiet, this turned out to be false. She waved goodbye to the assistant. With some trepidation, Khalid asked the actress if she had had a normal conversation with his assistant. The blonde man suggested that his bride arrange another meeting with his assistant. Khalid asked her not to get too close to the guy. Looking at the prince, Leslie asked if he was jealous. The guy asked again how he could be jealous of a hired girl for his own advisor. The blonde insisted that it was impossible. The girl asked if everything was okay with him. She noticed that he left rather quickly. Khalid sat down on a comfortable sofa and lied that everything was okay. Approaching Simon, the brown-haired man reported that the prisoner had escaped and that as a result of this, several people were injured. The prince coolly assumed that the prisoner was lying low, nursing her wounds. Trembling with fear, San explained that the captive was planning to repeat the attempt on His Highness's life. The brown-haired man's breathing was very ragged, and his voice lacked its former confidence. The prince became very wary, since the captive managed to get out of her shackles. The blonde's suspicion was confirmed that she had an accomplice. Panicked, San asked if the master had left the prisoner alive. The brown-haired man explained that His Majesty's life could depend on it. The prince asked him directly what he was getting at. The blonde replied that he had no intention of betraying his principles. Placing his hand on the guard's shoulder, Khalid promised to punish the criminal as soon as they returned to the Empire. A strong shudder ran through the guard's body. The guy asked for forgiveness, explaining that his emotions got the better of him. With excitement, Leslie asked again if everything was okay with the customer. The brunette quickly noticed that his face said otherwise. The prince pulled a fake smile onto his face. The guy claimed that everything had already been decided, and that she had nothing to worry about. Pointing his finger at the papers, Khalid noticed that the brunette had been working hard. She said that Simon had told her a lot of useful information. Leslie hugged the folder of papers tightly to herself. With a heavy sigh, the blonde informed the girl that she shouldn't try so hard. The actress was sure that she had to approach her role with full responsibility. Smiling, the brunette suggested that for her amazing work, the dear client could give her some kind of bonus. The girl blushed a little from her impudence. Pressing herself against the blonde's muscular torso, she asked if he had forgotten that he had promised to give her everything she wanted. Khalid asked what his chosen one wanted. The girl wanted to tell him, but her heartbeat echoed in his ears and her face darkened. The brunette turned away sharply, realizing that she couldn't ask for freedom. For as long as she could remember, a free life was what she dreamed of most. But the brunette didn't know what she would do when she got free rein. Leslie dreamed of a life without any responsibilities in a place far from Fiore. Putting her hand on his massive wrist, the brunette asked if he had listened to her. The girl realized that she had been led by emotions. Khalid asked what she wanted to say. Turning to him, the brunette put on a fake smile. The girl said that she only wanted money. Small dim stars glittered in the blue of the night sky. Simon noticed that the purity of the girl's magic was astonishing. Smiling, the brown-haired man noted that the crown princess was indeed special. The assistant noted that even the color of the girl's eyes was unique. Simon noticed that the deep-as-abyss eyes were very difficult to describe in words. The guy noticed that even kind words spoken by the brunette unconsciously carried magic in themselves. Sun sincerely thanked his colleague. The blonde said that he would look forward to working with the girl. Simon was looking forward to when Leslie would show her full potential. The assistant said it had been a long time since he had fallen under the mercy of such a man. The blonde admitted that he had almost cried. Sun asked the boy in surprise if he had cried. The assistant reminded him that he had said that he had almost cried. Simon explained that the prince had been right all along. Shaitan began to understand why His Majesty had insisted so much on going to Weldon. The assistant explained that the presence of the princess was equivalent to the presence of the high priest. San was surprised that the girl was so strong. The guy assumed that the brunette had the ability to purify. The blonde assumed that he had taken up too much of the boy's time. Simon ordered the brown-haired man to go and finish his night patrol. The guard bowed respectfully, saying goodbye to him. The blonde was left alone on the deck, peering into the depths of the night sky. The guy was worried if the girl would be okay. The assistant realized that the brunette had climbed aboard without suspecting anything. A light wind was filling the huge sails. Simon realized that the prince had to remain on good terms with the girl in order to explain everything. The blonde sincerely hoped that the gentleman would not quarrel with her until then. The prince, visibly nervous, said that he had turned the boy's fears into reality. With a tremor in his voice, the blonde asked what the prince meant. Khalid sighed heavily and suggested that he had ruined everything. The actress said without hesitation that she only needed money. The blonde man lowered his eyes and explained that he was sure that she would want something else. The girl looked away and said that she didn't need anything else. Her cold-bloodedness and mercantilism struck the prince in the heart. The actress reminded him that she would work according to her payment. The blonde realized that he was not interested in the girl as a person at all. Khalid reminded her that he could give her anything she wanted. Turning away, the brunette said that she only needed money. The assistant reminded that His Highness wanted to seduce the princess. The guy blushed and said that he wanted to but realized his failure. Simon assumed that the prince had only made things worse. The boy insisted that he had expected it to be difficult, but he hadn't known how difficult it would be. Moonlight flooded Leslie's room. The girl sat on the bed peering into the semi-darkness. The brunette realized that she had always strived for freedom, but she had never thought about what she would do when she finally got it. Leslie assumed it was because she had had her life decided for her. She clasped her hands tightly and was visibly nervous. A snow-white dove flew into the open window of the room. The bird created a noise that tore through the night silence with each flap of its wings. Without fear of the girl, she sat down on the sofa. The bird without fear sat on the tender hands of the brunette. The actress realized that the prince gave her a chance to get freedom, but gave warmth even just looking at her. The brunette felt warm inside when she remembered how he had softly called her name. Leslie realized that love was not part of their contract. Quite quickly, the feathered friend fluttered away from the girl's velvety hands. The brunette understood that love is not needed by someone who already has everything. Leslie was left alone, holding a small feather in her hands. Hearing the menacing roar of the tiger, the girl shuddered. Leslie looked at the big cat who was sweetly pulling herself up on her bed. Trembling with fear, the brunette covered herself with a soft blanket. The girl could not understand why the animal was so big. Despite the fact that the actress had seen the animal many times, she was still scared. With her eyes closed, Leslie couldn't believe that even on the ship she couldn't find peace for a second. She begged for just a little quiet time. The big cat, stepping softly on the wooden floor, headed towards the actress. The brunette explained that she didn't care if it was Tara or an animal. The actress couldn't understand how it was possible to live with the beast. The curtains parted. With tears in her eyes, Leslie realized that her life had been saved. The blonde asked what was going on. Smiling, Khalid assumed that the girl and Tara were beginning to get used to each other. The brunette asked why the guy had been absent for so long. Leslie asked how it was possible to leave her alone with an animal. Smiling, the blonde noticed that his princess had gotten better. The guy noticed that the girl seemed depressed. With a trembling voice, the actress asked the boy to say something to the beast. Looking into the eyes of the big cat, Khalid waved his hand, ordering it to return. And a few moments later, the tiger ran out of the room. The prince admitted that he wanted to ask the brunette for one thing. Leslie asked what he wanted to add to their contract. Walking quickly towards the girl, the blonde reminded her that this was already part of their contract. The prince reminded her that they needed to ask for a blessing together. The blonde man knelt down in front of her so that their eyes were level. Leslie realized that this was something like a marriage. In a trembling voice, the girl asked what she was supposed to do. Khalid said that nothing was required of her. The guy asked the brunette to stay on his side. On the table sparkled gold jewelry with precious stones. There were many jewels for every taste for the new princess. 3 maids were looking after the brunette. One of the girls was tenderly combing the silky locks of her mistress's hair. Leslie knew very well that sailors were quite superstitious people, but she did not think that they were so superstitious. The brunette was genuinely surprised that there was a separate ritual for crossing the borders of the empire. It was too unexpected for the girl. Sitting down next to the brunette, Khalid said that they would soon enter imperial waters. The guy explained that if they failed to perform the ritual in honor of the Lord of the Seas, they could encounter bad weather and lose their course or even end up in a shipwreck. The actress was nervous, but she tried not to catch the eye of the ship's crew. The girl was very worried about how they would receive her. It seemed to Leslie that everything was going too smoothly. Entering the room, the prince noticed that preparations were actively progressing. With a grin, the blonde asked his bride if she was nervous. The girl shrugged and reminded him that he had said she didn't have to do anything. Khalid explained that that was true, but he loomed over the girl, causing her cheeks to flush. Leslie silently prayed that he wouldn't do it in front of everyone. The brunette squeezed her eyes tightly shut. The actress felt a gentle touch on her neck. Khalid gently adjusted her necklace. The prince explained that it was normal to feel nervous before meeting the Lord of the Sea. The girl wanted to say something, but the prince quickly disappeared from her field of vision. The brunette tried to understand what he was going to do, Leslie willed herself not to be distracted by any nonsense. She adjusted a strand of her thick, long black hair. Seeing the bewilderment in the maid's eyes, the girl smiled. The actress realized that it was time for her to return to work. Simon reminded His Highness that it would rain during the ceremony. The blonde asked Khalid if everything was okay. The guy asked if he was afraid that the princess would be shocked. The blonde calmly replied that some things were better seen in person. The moonlight illuminated the endless expanses of the sea. It snatched the silhouette of a girl from the semi-darkness. Leslie walked unsteadily along the side of the ship, her face veiled and her body adorned with many jewels. The princess was nervous because it was time for her to show herself to the entire crew. The girl felt her heartbeat. The brunette finally breathed in the fresh, refreshing sea air. The actress became alert when she heard a suspicious noise. The little girl approached the princess and took her hand. The little girl pointed her finger forward. Leslie was taken aback, because the sound came from a dozen people who were bowing before her. Smiling, Simon said that the people were a little surprised, but they trusted His Highness. The blonde assured that everyone would respect the new bride. The guy claimed that no one would raise their head without her permission. The brunette realized what Simon meant. She enjoyed the light sea breeze. The girl with emerald eyes smiled and went away somewhere. Leslie looked around carefully. The brunette walked confidently past the people worshipping her. This situation scared the actress a little. The girl was not used to the fact that they worshipped her as soon as she left the cabin. The wind quickly filled the large, luxurious sails. The actress stood on the edge of the ship, peering into the sea surface. The brunette carefully placed the blood-red cape over the lady's graceful shoulders. Leslie thanked the maid for her care. The actress was genuinely surprised that such a thin cape could be so warm. The girl noticed that she was wearing a magical artifact as an accessory. Having examined her clothes more closely, the actress realized that almost her entire body was covered in these artifacts. The brunette realized that she had nothing to be surprised about, because Khalid was a wealthy prince. Leslie heard footsteps behind her. Turning around, the girl was sure that it was Khalid who had approached her to perform the ritual. When the brunette turned her head, she shuddered. The big cat was sitting behind the girl and looking at her. Trembling all over, the actress asked what this wild beast wanted from her. Leslie remembered that she had to be the perfect princess and play the role well. The girl turned away sharply, convincing herself that everything would be fine. The brunette was sure that if she didn't look at the tiger, it would go away. The big cat came up to the princess and rubbed itself against her legs. The tiger looked at the girl carefully. The crew began to condemn the beast for approaching the girl first. No one had ever seen him act like that with anyone other than the prince. No one was surprised that the girl became their crown princess. Trembling with fear, Leslie couldn't understand why the animal continued to pursue her. To her regret, the brunette couldn't hold back her tears and the trembling all over her body. Soon distinct footsteps were heard, quickly approaching her. The ship's crew crouched down, waiting for the prince to approach. There was satisfaction in the actress's eyes, because he arrived on time as always. The prince wore a black robe embroidered with gold, and artifacts adorned his forehead and ears. His massive, luxurious torso was barely visible from under his clothes. A barely noticeable smile was visible from under the black veil. The princess was incredibly happy to see the blonde, reminding her with a smile that the ceremony was about to begin. The blonde noted that the girl looked like a sea fairy. Approaching the actress, the blonde extended his hand to her. She gently placed her hand in his large palm. The girl was pleasantly surprised by the warmth she felt from this touch. The prince gently pulled her hand towards him. Khalid whispered that he almost fell for the trick. If the blonde hadn't known all the circumstances, he would have actually decided that she was glad to see him. The prince remarked that the girl's acting was excellent, as she said. Leslie tried to assure him that she was not pretending. Turning around, the brunette saw mountains of gold, precious stones, and fresh fruit. The girl realized that the workers had tried hard to prepare for this ritual. The actress noticed that the entire crew of the ship looked serious. In a whisper, the princess reminded that the blonde did not tell her that everything would be so large-scale. The girl asked him again if he was sure she shouldn't do anything. Smiling, Khalid reminded her that she just needed to be near him. The couple approached a table with decorations and fruit. There were 2 glasses and 2 candles. The entire crew gathered and watched this with bowed heads. Simon handed a palm leaf to His Highness and asked him to take it. Looking at the girl, the prince asked her not to be afraid. The brunette passed by the couple. The actress watched the maid with caution, trying to understand what he meant. The 2 servants and Khalid were clutching palm leaves tightly. Looking somewhere far into the depths of the sea, Simon reported that he was already next to them. The brunette tried to understand what the assistant was talking about. Strong gusts of wind and rain swept over the ship. With a trembling voice, Leslie asked if it was a storm. In addition to the rumble, the sound of a horn made of a shell was heard. The actress pressed herself tightly to the guy's body. "You don't understand what's going on around you." The prince explained that the one he had spoken of had arrived. The girl realized with a shudder that there was something under the ship. The creature's huge blue eyes were watching the ship as it sailed into its waters. The bright blue eyes reflected the light of the stars through the depths of the sea. The blonde hugged the girl tightly. Leslie noticed that Khalid was not worried at all. The girl's ears echoed with the sounds of her heartbeat, and fear shone in her eyes. The silhouette of the creature was barely visible through the depths of the sea. Closing her eyes and ears, the brunette begged for it all to end. The blonde hugged the girl, kissed her tenderly on the forehead, and said in a calm, gentle voice that everything was okay. Soon they began to sing a melodious song that could be heard for many kilometers from the ship. All the participants were clutching palm leaves tightly in their hands. The boy's amber eyes were calm. The actress couldn't understand how the prince could look so brave, even without armor and a sword. Soon the singing ended and only a light rustling of leaves could be heard. The blonde ordered the door to open. Leslie could not understand what His Majesty was saying. The girl was delighted by the sharpness of his gaze. Blue eyes looked at the travelers through the dark waters. A roar rang through the air again, which frightened the girl greatly. Khalid gently took the brunette by the hand and asked her to look carefully. She did not yet know the meaning of the ritual, which she considered a simple superstition. A huge glowing portal appeared from under the hands of the couple. Leslie had no idea of the creature she was about to encounter. That wonderful night, the brunette encountered a part of herself she had never suspected. The actress was tormented by the question of whether the prince knew about this. The girl understood that it would take her a long time to understand this. The large striped predator happily wagged its tail and purred tenderly. Leslie assumed that the guy knew her better than she knew herself. Smiling, the blonde greeted the new princess in arena. The magical glow filled the deck of the ship with bright light. The brunette watched what was happening with admiration. The servants in their ritual song addressed the most wonderful of all, the one who shines brightly from the top of their divine land. The people turned to the deity in the hope that he would be able to fly up and defeat evil and illuminate the plain. The actress realized that the song was performed in a language unfamiliar to her. The brunette could not understand why she understood this song. The girl looked at the person to whom this song was intended without fear. Leslie asked if what was happening was too strange. Smiling, the prince welcomed her to arena. The people continued to sing the song, promising to live for the sake of the deity. Soon the actress's consciousness began to rapidly cloud over. The brunette quickly lost consciousness. Leslie woke up in the arms of the blonde. The girl said that she wanted to ask him about many things. The actress asked if he could put her down. Khalid answered negatively. The brunette claimed that she was completely fine and suggested that they sit down and talk. After listening to the bride, the guy sat down on a comfortable sofa. Breaking away, she assured that she meant to sit opposite each other. Simon informed Her Highness that it would be better if she remained in this position. The blonde explained that she had spent too much energy. Simon said that given how strong the synastry was between her and the prince, they should have been closer to each other. Embarrassed, Leslie asked what the guy had on his shoulder. Smiling, the assistant explained that the creature was his Terra. The blonde claimed that he was able to summon her after crossing the border. The girl remembered that she already knew about magical creatures. She suggested returning to her previous question. Simon nodded and explained that the energy she possessed was compatible with the prince's mana. The advisor recommended that the couple stay closer to each other, as this would benefit both of them. The blonde said that for the people of Arena, magic was a very important aspect of life. Khalid asked the blonde to stop his story. The prince was sure that if he continued, the brunette would not be able to fall asleep. The guy greatly shortened his story, explaining that Iran was a country of magicians. Simon wanted to object but held back. The blonde said that the girl needed to be given a rest. The prince asked to pay special attention to food and even drink a glass of water with caution. Simon bowed and accepted the order of His Highness. Leslie called out to her assistant, asking him to tell her everything in detail. She recalled that they were at the border and asked if that had anything to do with what she saw. Bowing, the blonde asked him to explain everything as briefly as possible. Simon said that the border related to the waters was between the central continent and the Empire of Iran. The guy explained that it was a place between the part of the world where magic disappeared and where it remained. Simon said that they crossed the border a few minutes ago. The brunette asked what the shadow was, what she saw. The guy said that the dragon protected the balance and the part they were sailing on belonged to the creature's domain. With a trembling voice, Leslie asked again about the dragon. The advisor reported that the creature's name was Erig. Drops of cold sweat quickly spread down the brunette's cheeks. The girl was genuinely surprised that the dragon even had a name. The blonde said that they rarely saw the creature's true form and that it usually appeared as a shadow. The guy assumed that the dragon had become interested in looking at Her Highness. The prince waved his hand and asked Simon whether he wanted to calm the girl down or scare her. Pressing his beloved to himself, the blonde asked the guy to finish the stories for that day and put them off until a little later. The actress asked the guy to tell her more about Mana and Sinistry the next day. Khalid was genuinely happy to see that the girl was okay, and not only not scared, but also full of enthusiasm. The guy realized that the new princess would easily adapt to life in Sarajevo. Bowing, he promised to tell Her Highness more. The door slammed shut and Khalid and the brunette were left alone. The guy abruptly picked up his bride in his arms and said that she should rest. He confidently walked towards the luxurious bed. Khalid carefully sat the brunette down on the bed. Turning away, the blonde suggested that she would sleep better if he was not around. Leslie was alarmed by what was happening to the guy. The brunette suggested that it would be better if she left. The actress sighed heavily and asked if it was because of her that he could not transfer anyone to this room. The girl resolutely asked how many girls the prince had, and how often he changed them. The confused guy asked what she was talking about. Leslie explained that she was talking about his mistresses. The brunette lowered her eyes and said that she knew it was just a game. And even though she was a fake bride, she had the right to know it. The actress recalled that it was very important for them to look like a happy couple, and she could have stayed in another cabin. The guy, breaking into a scream, asked to stop this conversation. He pressed her tightly to the bed and hovered over her fragile body. Khalid ordered Neris to look at him. The girl looked away tiredly. Squeezing her wrists tightly, Khalid asked if she could say it while looking him in the eye. The blonde ordered them to stop doubting his words and repeated once again that he had no other woman besides her. The prince asked her not to make him worse than he really was. Khalid, having calmed down a little, asked for forgiveness for attacking her so abruptly. The blonde man strongly recommended that Neris take a little rest. The girl asked him to wait a little. Leslie herself couldn't understand why she did it. The brunette noticed that he looked like he was in a lot of pain. The girl began to think that she did not want to hurt him. The actress kissed him tenderly on the lips. The girl felt as if she had committed a crime. Khalid sternly asked the girl why she kissed him. The brunette said that it was an apology for her mistake. The prince, embarrassed, suggested that she might have misunderstood him. The guy said that he had never kept anyone near him for these purposes and never would. Khalid explained that the bracelets did indeed work as a contraceptive, but he only gave them to Leslie because he thought the jewelry would look nice on her. The blonde realized that neither he nor the priestess could explain it to her. Smiling, the actress said that she was glad. It was all just a misunderstanding. The boy's heart began to pound wildly, and he could hear his own heartbeat clearly in his ears. Khalid insisted that he was the one who should have asked for forgiveness. The actress noticed that the guy's eyes were glowing in anticipation of her consent, and his heart began to beat faster. The brunette nodded uncertainly. He abruptly lifted Leslie into his arms, and at that moment the girl realized that she was now sure of her feelings. The girl craved the same as the prince. Their lips merged into one in a passionate kiss. Khalid pushed his beloved onto the bed, pressing her tightly to the scarlet sheets. The prince, gently stroking her hand, said that he could no longer hold back. Leslie realized that this had to happen. Her hands dug into his silky hair. The brunette was already ready to experience unpleasant feelings or pain. The girl lay on the bed experiencing incredible bliss. She held his hand tightly in hers. Khalid admitted that he was furious that she always acted distantly about everything that concerned the contract and their relationship. The blonde said that he decided to take advantage of this moment. The actress was incredibly turned on when his breath touched her soft skin, and her body shuddered. Turning her face away, the brunette noticed that the guy was starting gradually, and it was quite cute. Leslie realized that the guy was teasing her again. The blonde noticed that he didn't even know her real name. Trying to restrain herself, the brunette tried to say her real name. The prince assured her that everything was fine. Khalid asked the girl to pronounce his name and promised that then he would definitely not be able to restrain himself. After a passionate time of love, the girl asked if the people thought she was strange because she fainted right during the ceremony. A little confused, Khalid asked what she was talking about. Covering her delicate face with her hands, the brunette suggested that she had ruined the first impression of herself as the crown princess. The blonde assured her that she had done a great job. After these words, a barely noticeable smile appeared on Leslie's face. The prince reminded her that she had fallen right into his arms. Khalid asked if the girl had forgotten that incident. The blonde reminded her that the dragon rarely showed interest in anyone. The boy kissed her hand tenderly, explaining that no one in the world could compare to her. Khalid asked her to remember his words and never forget. Having lit her pipe, the brunette insisted that she did not know where the actress had been. The count said that they had combed the entire capital, but had not found a trace of the girl. Hillsdale explained that no one could have covered their tracks like that except for the people from Fiore. The man assumed that this had been the lady's plan from the very beginning. The brunette, calmly smoking her pipe, noted that she had to be too bold. The madam assured that her subordinate had carried out his request exactly as stated in the contract. The brunette noted that Veronica had done everything possible to fulfill her part of the contract. The lady asked if the man wanted to kill the performer just because she had done her part too well. The brunette explained that each of those present had been personally appointed by her to strictly fulfill their duties. The woman waved her graceful hand in the direction of his subordinates. The brunette admitted that she was not happy with the fact that the count was putting her in an awkward position in front of her students. While puffing on her pipe, she suggested that she should start killing her clients. One of the guys held a sharp blade to the man's throat. The smell of tobacco was clearly audible in the air, and the smoke enveloped the impudent man. Grinning, Hillsdale said that it was impossible to disappear from the wanted list once you were there. The man suggested saying that the girl was dead. The count explained that this way the brunette would be removed from the list and no unnecessary questions would be asked. Noticing that he had made concessions to her, Hillsdale explained that in exchange she would have to fulfill his new request. The count explained that he wanted to make sure that the actress who played Veronica never appeared in the country again. Madame could not understand how Leslie managed to work for a man. The woman asked how much the count was prepared to pay for it. After adjusting his suit, Hillsdale said that he was ready to pay a price equal to the reward for the girl's head. The count asked if this sum would be enough. The brunette bowed in farewell and thanked him for his patronage. The woman frowned, realizing that there was something in the county that she didn't know about. Madame was disappointed because Leslie was her highest-paid actress. The brunette sincerely wanted her to become her successor in the future. Having thrown out the wanted ad, the madam hoped that the girl would not take it to heart. The brunette remembered that she had always been too good and could attract absolutely any client. The woman turned around and asked why the actor was eavesdropping on her. The lady noted that it didn't look like a guy. The silhouette of the subordinate slowly emerged from the semi-darkness of the room. There was a barely noticeable smile on the brown-haired man's face. The woman asked what he needed. Bowing, the guy asked why she pretended not to know. The brown-haired man took off his small top hat. He asked why the lady decided he was eavesdropping. The guy explained to her that he had simply arrived at the wrong time and asked her to pay attention to the fact that no one had noticed him. The brunette felt disgusted by the guy's behavior. The woman sternly said that she didn't like that he came whenever he wanted. Smiling, the brown-haired man explained that if he forgot that he had invaded her personal space, then he shouldn't have interfered in his affairs. With a creepy grin, he asked where Leslie was. Approaching the instructor, the woman reminded him that the girl did not belong to him. She gently lifted his face, drilling him with her garnet eyes. The lady asked if she looked like the person who knew where the girl was. The brunette understood that she could threaten the count, but not the instructor. Madame was very alarmed that the guy was so obsessed with Leslie. He gently touched the woman's shoulders and explained that she was the only one who could help the actress disappear without a trace. With a heavy sigh, the lady said she had no idea where the girl was. The instructor persistently asked again where the actress was. The brunette said that the ship she had prepared for Leslie had already sailed. The woman said she was told the girl was not there. She repeated with irritation that she did not know where she was. Having bowed, the guy decided to believe the lady. He said that the brunette always surprised him and he intended to tell her about it when they met again. The woman wondered if the brunette would want to date the guy again. Putting on his top hat, the instructor said that he also had one request. The brown-haired man asked the woman to let him know if she found out where Leslie was. Making a wide gesture with his hand, the guy promised to pay her as much as she wanted. He left without saying goodbye. When the door clicked shut, the woman sighed heavily and took a small mug of tea from the table. She realized that the instructor had not noticed her earring, and assumed that he was unaware of the artifact's abilities. Madame poured the rest of the tea on the earring and placed it in the ground. She remembered that she had given the second one to Leslie so that she could disguise herself. Fortunately, the woman remembered that she was the only one who knew about the abilities of the artifact. Looking closely at the flower pot where the earring lay, the brunette remembered that with the help of the jewelry, it was possible to track the location of the second earring. The brunette buried the jewel, deciding that she would take this secret with her to the grave. Madame realized that her student had clearly learned the lesson that it was better to betray than to be betrayed. With a smile on his face, the blonde watched his beloved sleep. He wondered why she drew a line between them if she eventually crossed it herself. The guy felt a little ashamed that he couldn't hold back in the end. Leslie snored rhythmically in the soft bed. The blonde remembered that at first she refused his touch, and then kissed her whenever she wanted. Khalid realized that this was what brought them closer. Her smile, touch kisses made his heart skip a beat. When the blonde met her with a joyful smile, it seemed to him that the whole world froze. The girl's languid sighs seemed incredibly sweet to him. The brunette was the one with whom the blonde's heart began to beat faster. Khalid realized that the actress did not remember him and did not trust him completely. The guy was disappointed that she didn't remember how their story began. The little girl asked him to come back and pick her up in 10 years. The brunette's face was beaming with smiles. The words spoken that day were both his salvation and his curse. The door creaked open. Khalid asked coldly what had happened. The assistant apologized for the intrusion and said that there was a matter requiring His Highness's attention. The prince, alarmed, wondered if this had anything to do with the dungeon. Simon said that the prisoner had committed suicide. The blonde's body shuddered involuntarily and he jumped up abruptly and headed for the exit. Khalid asked the blonde to tell him everything on the way. When the blonde left, Leslie began to be tormented by nightmares again. The girl, shaking all over, screamed out fragments of phrases, and there was cold sweat on her face. In the nightmare, the brown-haired man leaned over the little girl, noticing that she had practically mastered the basics. The guy asked to remember this always, especially on a mission. The curator explained that this technique will lure any target into a trap. Shaitan recalled that the victim felt as if a special connection was being established between them, and asked to rehearse again. At that moment, Leslie realized that she needed to escape as soon as possible. Having comfortably sat down on a chair, the guy noticed that she was still hesitating. The curator asked if he had taught her this. The blonde asked sternly how the incident had happened. Simon lowered his eyes and admitted that the captive had bitten off her tongue. Khalid turned around and angrily asked what fool had pulled out the gag. The blonde man closed his eyes and said that it happened when the guards were drinking delicious wine. The workers were sincerely happy that day, because they couldn't remember the last time they drank alcohol. The guards were allowed to drink in honor of the ceremony. The red-haired guy asked his colleagues to be quiet, explaining that if they were caught, their pay would be cut. The brunette was indignant at the injustice, since they were the only ones who were forbidden to drink. A strange sound was heard behind the guards. Looking back, the girl could not understand what had happened to the captive. The red-haired guy said that the captive was very sick and that it was a bad sign. The guard ran up to her and said that they needed to take out the gag, since the captive needed air. The brunette explained that it would be the end for them if she died before they finished the interrogation. The blonde smirked as she looked at her tormentors. The prince frowned, suggesting that returning home for the first time in 2 years had lifted someone's spirits. Simon looked down and asked for forgiveness for not being able to keep track of this. The assistant sighed heavily and promised that next time something like this would not happen. Putting his hand on the boy's shoulder, the blonde asked him to calm down. Khalid explained that he knew better than anyone how much attention he paid to the little things. The prince reminded the boy that it was not his fault. The blonde gritted his teeth and said that the captive clearly had an accomplice. Khalid said that there was no point in interrogating the crew because they were too drunk. The blonde realized that he could not lock them up because not everyone was guilty of the incident that had occurred. Simon informed His Highness that none of the guards were guilty. Approaching the guys, San explained that the guards were to blame because they were unable to control themselves and properly perform their duties. The blonde noticed that the guard had not even touched the alcohol. San said that they would follow His Highness's orders and pay for their mistake. Placing his hand on the boy's head, the prince asked if he wanted him to torture all those who had served him all these years because of one spy. Khalid asked if they thought he was capable of such a thing. His Highness said that they should concentrate on finding evidence. Approaching the camera, the guy remembered that she probably had an accomplice who first tried to help her escape. The blonde did not understand why she decided to commit suicide. The blonde asked him if he thought that someone had killed the girl. The guy coldly replied that it had happened as soon as they had crossed the border. Khalid asked why at that moment. Simon looked down and assumed that the traitor wanted mana. The blonde was sure that if the traitors had used magic, they would have left traces. The prince said that they needed to focus on finding clues. The blonde said that he and San would start searching right away. The guys suggested that His Highness continue to rest with the princess. To explained that after crossing the border, he could not rest peacefully. The assistant suggested that His Highness was worried about the mutants. The prince reminded that he was the only one with a full-fledged Terra. The blonde said that at the moment it would be better if he remained on guard. Looking at his small Teru, Simon agreed with His Highness's judgment. The brown-haired man awkwardly said that some people didn't have any magical animal at all. The blonde asked to leave the guard of the dungeon to Lana. The prince was sure that she was eager to do something. Smiling, Simon suggested that the girl would be perfect for this job. The guard looked down, doubting that this would stop the girl from causing trouble. The blonde said that there was something else he had to say. Taking his faithful servant by the cheek, the blonde pulled it sharply. Khalid ordered him to be on guard, because it was unacceptable for something like this to happen again. Rubbing his reddened cheek, the blonde realized that His Highness was still angry. The wind with the night coolness rushed into the girl's cabin. Khalid's amber eyes sparkled with rage. Getting out of bed, the girl said that the master would be pleased. Stroking her belly, the blonde hoped that the death of her baby's aunt was not in vain. More than a week had passed since the ship had crossed the border. Leslie sat on the deck enjoying a cup of aromatic hot drink. The girl enjoyed the sun, the light sea breeze, and the gentle sound of the waves. The weather was perfect almost the entire week. While in the cabin, she didn't have to worry about the weather since everyone could now use magic. The brunette had no idea that magic could be used to repair or clean a room. The actress was delighted that Khalid's room began to look completely different. Simon bowed and asked if Her Highness was ready for new language lessons. Turning around, the girl answered positively. The sea breeze played like a light wind in her luxurious hair. The brunette listened attentively to the guy and wrote down all the important information. Simon said that fire and earth, water and air were the four main elements. Even with one element, people had different abilities. The actress listened carefully to each word paired and wrote it down on sheets of paper. Leslie asked if he had water magic and could heal others. The blonde nodded approvingly, confirming that Her Highness was absolutely right. The advisor was incredibly happy that he was able to teach the girl the basics of their culture. With a radiant smile, the brunette remembered that Terra is born in the image and likeness of her master. Watching the small snake, the princess assumed that this appearance could be due to the fact that Simon was very calm. The girl was delighted by how cute Terra was. The brunette muttered that it was very convenient. The assistant asked her in surprise what she meant. The girl only replied that it didn't matter. Leslie reminded him that he said that magic cannot be used in Eldon. The brunette asked what the reason for this ban was. Simon explained that this was done to maintain the balance of the earth. The blonde reminded that magic ceased to exist on the central continent, but remained in Irene. The advisor explained that it had been decided by someone. Seeing the misunderstanding in the girl's eyes, the blonde decided to tell everything about the creatures. Simon reminded that the girl had already seen one of them. Blannon explained that the dragon guarded the borders of the lands. The second guardian was a tree that took root throughout the world. And the third was the witch of the northern lands. And the fourth, the holy green, was hidden in a palace overgrown with thorn bushes. The blonde explained that magical creatures were chosen to maintain the balance of the lands. The guardians stripped the central continent of magic. A strict ban on the spread of magic outside of Iran was introduced on Earth. People were allowed to cross the border, provided that they did not use magic. Turning around, the brunette suggested that Khalid was an amazing person, since he was able to save the container abroad. Simon enthusiastically said that even the prince's tiger was unusual. The girl was surprised by this phrase, since tigers were not commonplace anyway. Khalid did not immediately say that he could put his Terra to sleep. The big cat had been scaring the hell out of the girl all this time. Terra got up from her soft bed and yawned sweetly. The assistant told her that the prince had mastered the element of wind. The girl found this a little strange, because she was sure that the earth suited the prince much better. The brunette saw him as serious, hot and majestically towering over everyone, like a scorching sun in an endless desert. Noticing the girl's interest, Simon said that he was very glad to see that Her Highness liked the lessons he was giving. Feeling the refreshing currents of wind, the brunette said that she felt like a free bird, because there wasn't even a small window in the cabin. Leslie admitted that she didn't even know that the ship had magic attached to it. She assumed that the vessel was some kind of large magical artifact. Having collected the papers in a pile, the assistant explained that she could rest on the deck from time to time, and he promised that no one would disturb her here. When the actress received the explanation, she was sure that nothing would surprise her anymore. Leslie felt that she had become much stronger. The blonde asked if they should end the lesson there. The girl stood up abruptly and agreed, explaining that she had one more question. Leslie asked if she could marry Khalid since she was a foreigner who did not know magic and Thera. The brunette reminded him that the guy was the crown prince. Smiling, Simon explained that the girl had magic. The actress's eyes showed genuine misunderstanding, and she asked what he meant. The assistant assured that she did not feel it because she was born and raised on the other side. The blonde shared that he was absolutely sure that she possessed magic. Simon said that the water magic was very strong. Leslie shared that she sincerely wanted to believe in it. The assistant asked the girl not to worry. The blonde strictly advised the princess to accept it. The guy reminded her that she was a foreigner and could not yet properly control magic. Simon said that even simple kind words carried a special power. The blonde explained that kind words were a blessing, while evil ones were harmful. The actress, looking down, promised to keep an eye on this. The brunette asked how she could learn to transform magic into Thera. The assistant claimed that in Arena, this is usually taught in families from childhood. The blonde man looked thoughtfully at the girl and tried to find the right words. Leslie couldn't understand why the guy suddenly went silent. The assistant suggested the girl to ask Prince Khalid for help. A little embarrassed, the brunette asked if it would be possible to do it with him. The blonde's cheeks flushed with embarrassment and he gave a negative answer. Simon said that this required a close relationship, so he was not suitable for this. The girl couldn't understand why the assistant suddenly started talking about family. Leslie realized that her situation was special. The blonde man said that in addition to the close relationship, the princess and Khalid had a strong synastry. Even though the girl didn't remember her father, she still had memories of her mother. The woman loved her daughter despite her difficult life. To her regret, Leslie didn't remember what she felt when she hugged her mother. The girl explained that no matter what he said, she definitely remembered that she was born in Weldon. The brunette reminded him that Simon said that there had been no magic there for a long time. The blonde said that there were Iranians who moved to Weldon for their own reasons. The girl realized that he was talking about the fact that she did not know everything about her origin. The brunette asked again if Khalid was the only one who could help her. The guy nodded affirmatively, confirming her theory. Leslie reminded him that they had opposite elements and asked how they could have synastry. Soon there was a loud crash. Lana pounced on the blonde, causing a loud crash on the deck. The loud, unexpected sound made the blonde look back and ask what happened. The blonde begged her to save him with a trembling voice. Lana pressed the guy tightly to the ground and asked for forgiveness. The brunette jumped up abruptly, her eyes burning with rage. Bowing to the ground, the brunette asked Her Highness for forgiveness for frightening her. Simon asked what Her Highness would order: to throw her into the ocean, or hang her upside down, or lock her in a dungeon. The blonde asked the girl to choose the punishment she considered appropriate. Looking at the guard who was trembling all over, the princess realized that she did not want to do this. Leslie realized that because of the ban, the artifact had activated as soon as they crossed the border. The girl realized that because of the magical object, she was able to understand the words of that song. The brunette was extremely surprised that the artifact even translated curses. The events quickly moved back 10 minutes. The princess wondered if the two different elements were compatible. Raising the papers to his face, the assistant said that the brunette had a relationship with the prince, but a loud crash interrupted the princess's training. The brunette asked with a furious cry where those people had run off to and promised to start a fight. Lana's menacing shadow hung over her colleagues. The girl promised to smash their heads against the wall and advised them to surrender immediately. Leslie giggled, noticing how intimidating and sharp-tongued the guard was. The brunette even felt a little sorry for the guards. The guard knocked down the door with her massive body, and now the door was lying on the deck. Lana's eyes blazed with rage and her body shook as she realized what she had done. The girl wondered if the thing was a guard. Simon sighed heavily and reminded that Her Highness had asked Lana a question and ordered her to answer. The brunette, looking down, answered positively. The girl felt ashamed that she dared to show such a disgusting terror to the princess. The fire shone on the brunette's body without causing her any harm. The blonde reminded her that they should talk about punishment. Sitting down next to the guard, Leslie noticed that Tara resembled fiery wings. The brunette touched the magical power and noticed that it was wonderful. Lana blushed, because before this she could only see the princess from afar and could not even imagine that she would have the chance to see Her Highness up close. The brunette assumed it would be hot, but it turned out that the fire was pleasant and warm. The girl asked if the brunette was one of Khalid's personal guards, and asked what she could call her. Tears began to slowly drip from the brunette's eyes. The guard's mana had not been so stable for a long time. Lana realized what the blonde's strength was. The princess became nervous and asked the girl if everything was okay. Tears slowly flowed down the guard's face. Lana's colleagues were genuinely surprised that she could cry, wiping away her tears with her massive hands. The brunette gave her name and explained that she had many shortcomings. The girl said that she allegedly wanted her to become her personal knight. Simon reported that Irina had no such concept as a knight, and the guard did not understand what Leslie was talking about. Taking the princess by the hand, Lana asked if a knight was not just another name for a guard. The brunette said that she wanted to protect Her Highness at any cost. The advisor's face turned very pale, and he assumed that the girl wanted to drive him into the grave and could not understand where she had picked up such words from. Kneeling down, the guard asked to be allowed to protect Her Highness. The blonde reminded the scarecrow that she was a commander in a border detachment. The guard no longer paid attention to the blonde's words. Sand felt a strong tremor in his body and assumed that his sister was causing trouble again. Khalid asked what the guards who had guarded the captive until her death had told her. With some regret, the brown-haired man reported that there was nothing remarkable in the reports. The guy insisted that they couldn't find anything during the search either. The prince noted that there was something strange about it and that it couldn't be. The blonde said there were only two options. Either the captive was cautious or her accomplice was too skilled. San suggested that he should investigate. Khalid suggested that they wait, as they needed to make sure that they weren't attacked by mutants. Shaitan reported that after the death of the captive they increased the guard. The guy claimed that fortunately nothing out of the ordinary had happened yet. Smiling, the blonde noticed that at least something good was happening and asked not to lose vigilance. The waves crashed against the side of the ship, creating a soothing sound. The prince announced that they should reach Irene without incident, because the future princess was on board. The priestesses said that they had not been able to take proper care of the princess before, as they had to wait until she crossed the border. The girls reported that when the ceremony was over, they could serve the brunette for days. The worker reported with delight that she could now live in the same cabin with the prince. Leslie thanked the girls for their efforts and explained that she had not seen the prince at all recently. One of the girls sighed heavily and said that Khalid had to work day and night. The brunette claimed that she needed to talk to Simon. The girl was sure that the advisor had a reason for this. The priestess was surprised how long the blonde had not spent time with his princess. Tightly clutching the pendant with the artifact, the brunette remembered how good it was for her when she did not understand the priestesses. The brunette was genuinely interested in why the girls were courting her. Having bowed, one of the girls said that it was a great honor for her to meet Her Highness. The priestess introduced herself by name and said that she had the element of water. Bowing, the girls took turns telling what element each of them had. The brunette was a little confused, because before that she was sure that they were ordinary servants. Smiling at the girl, they informed her that their title was equivalent to that of a bishop in Weldon. The brunette shuddered, informing her that in her country even aristocrats could not simply meet with those. Leslie couldn't understand how such powerful people could serve her. Smiling, Sue said that they didn't serve God, but protected the peace of the magical elements, for which they were blessed by them. The red-haired girl said that no matter how long the journey was, as long as they were on board, their journey would be successful. The priestess said that everyone would enjoy the beautiful weather and an easy journey. With sparkling eyes, the brunette assumed that this was the reason she didn't get seasick. Looking closely at the girls, the princess asked where the priestess of the wind was. Sue said that Prince Khalid was the high priest of the wind, and their duty was to help the high priest. The girls happily told that they had been entrusted with taking care of Her Highness. The princess, noticeably saddened, suggested that they had prepared her in vain, explaining that she did not want to interfere with His Highness. The brunette realized that during the ceremony, The caliph had taken part as the high priest. Leslie wasn't surprised that he was busy, because the guy had so many roles. Leading the brunette to the mirror, Sue announced that Her Highness was ready and informed her that she should proceed to the dining room. The actress looked at herself in the mirror and wondered if she needed to wear so many decorations every time. The girl reminded that the day was approaching sunset. The brunette explained that the jewelry contained magical artifacts that would help the princess adjust faster. The girl asked if it was convenient for the brunette herself. Leslie reported that everything was fine. The girl was quite scared of the consequences because she remembered the misunderstanding with the bracelets. Coming out onto the deck, the princess admired the beauty of the sunset and the wonderful fresh air. The prince, watching the setting sun, deftly threw the knife into the air. Tara asked the guy why he was sitting with such a gloomy expression on his face. Tiger reminded the blonde to stay close to the princess and protect her. Khalid reminded him that those were his words. The guy asked Tara what she was doing near him. The blonde reminded her that he had ordered the cat to look after his chosen one. Tara, having shrunk in size, reported that the brunette's aura frightened him, and because of her magic he constantly wanted to sleep. The big cat reported that she needed to do something about it. The tiger asked to help the brunette to tame and take control of her power. Khalid asked the creature not to find fault. The prince said that he had already done a lot. Tara said that it was not enough. After all, they would soon approach the ground and they should hurry. Tiger reminded that the master would be safer if the girl used her power. The prince said that he knew it very well and asked to wait a little longer. A suspicious sound was heard behind the guy, which made him turn around abruptly. The huge creature approached the prince with heavy breathing. The blonde stepped back and with a sharp movement of his hand cut the intruder into two parts. The mutant quickly fell into the dark blue sea, turning the water around him red. The guards ran up to the guy and asked if everything was okay with him. The guys asked if they should call a healer. The brown-haired man was outraged that this creature dared to attack His Highness. Khalid assured that he was fine and asked to make sure that no one else had gotten on board. Looking down, one of the guards was surprised how those creatures managed to get past the guards. The guy ordered to strengthen the security on the deck. The big cat looked at the prince and said that if the creatures were already near the side, it meant they were approaching land. The boy sighed heavily and said that it was not like him. Tara reminded him that he had never let an enemy get so close. The big cat suggested that the master might be very tired. Khalid admitted that his thoughts had been elsewhere lately. Tiger asked to hear him out and advised the prince to train Leslie so that she could be of assistance to him in battle. The prince dryly informed her that he had no intention of placing his burden on the fragile girl. Leslie was indignant, because she had been waiting for him for several hours. She could not understand what her lover was so busy with, if he made her wait for so long. The actress lowered her eyes and assumed that he was already tired of her. The girl was angry with herself because she missed Khalid after only a few days of communication. The brunette heard a distinct knock on the door. Hope flashed in her eyes and she said the blonde's name. Leslie was surprised because he usually didn't knock. Entering the room, San looked down and tried to find the right words. San apologized for disturbing Her Highness. Shaitan said that he was told to keep her company. The guy claimed that he had been told that interacting with different people would allow her to awaken magic. The brunette invited the guy to go into the room, explaining that she was just getting bored. The guy was nervously clenching his hands and his heart was pounding wildly. Leslie asked him what he was doing and asked him to sit down. Sun asked him how he dared to do something like that. The brunette assumed that Khalid wasn't going to show up and explained that it wasn't worth wasting good stuff. The guy said that His Highness had encountered a mutant. The guard realized that Khalid would beat him for these words. The brown-haired man knew that the prince would find out that he had made the princess worry. The girl curiously asked him what he had said. The guard explained that it was nothing important and thanked him for the invitation. San ate the delicious food with pleasure, enjoying every bite. Smiling, the princess noticed that they really did look alike. The guard looked at Her Highness in bewilderment. Leslie explained that she meant his sister. Shaitan assumed that Lana had caused a lot of trouble and bowed and asked for forgiveness for his relative. The girl asked not to worry about this. She explained that she liked the guard's honesty. The brunette explained that he had misunderstood her. The girl was amazed at how simple and honest the people from Arena were. And soon after dinner, the interlocutors moved on to delicious desserts. Leslie asked if the guy was a knight. Brown-haired suggested that in her understanding he could be called such a word. The girl asked why the team went on such long journeys. Sun looked down and said that he and his sister were of the lower class. He claimed that after the prince appointed them to high positions, The crew discussed it behind their backs. The princess was genuinely surprised, because they were wonderful warriors. The brown-haired man sadly said that regardless of their strength and training, the fact that they were of low origin was unchanged. The only one who never expressed doubt was Prince Khalid. The boy boarded the ship because he believed in the ruler. San sincerely wanted to repay everything that Khalid had done for him. The guard was always ready to follow the ruler. The girl understood why the guy was so harsh with Lana. The brunette said with a smile that the guard shouldn't have worried, because Khalid was an excellent judge of character. Embarrassed, San thanked Her Highness. The guy admitted that he actually had another goal. Handing the girl a small plate with dessert, the brown-haired man asked her to take them. The guard told me that before the Troubles, Irene had been a thriving slave trade. Many children were sold to another country. Leslie assumed that by the other side he meant Weldon. The guy said that he and Lana lost their little sister at that moment. The princess asked to accept her sincere condolences. Sun said that it was not a secret and many knew about it. The boy insisted that despite the fact that he had combed the entire kingdom for the past 2 years, he could not find a trace of her. The guard explained that if fate was merciful, they would definitely meet. The brunette asked if they had met before. A little confused, the guy suggested that they had met for the first time on this ship. Looking closely at the guy, the actress thought that he seemed painfully familiar to her. The girl said that she had not noticed this before, but after crossing the border, she had a strange feeling. The actress said that she had a premonition, as if she had seen him somewhere before. Bursting into the room, Simon explained to the princess that it was inappropriate. Smiling, the brunette noted that they had not seen each other for a long time. The assistant noted with a trembling voice that what the princess had said to him in Eldoni was called flirting. Laughing, Leslie asked where the blonde had learned that word. The guard thought Simon was talking about something tasty. The assistant begged the girl to say that this was not so, explaining that it was impossible to behave like that with anyone other than the prince. The girl assumed that he had misunderstood her. San decided to take his leave and thanked him for the invitation. The guard quickly left the room. The girl asked him to wait, but he had already slammed the massive door behind him. The brunette realized with disappointment that she had not managed to stop her interlocutor. The actress was amazed at how fast he was. The brunette explained that Simon hadn't thought about that. She insisted that they were just talking. The guy, embarrassed, explained that he had allegedly been told that such phrases were used when flirting. Tara Khalida asked to stop these disputes. The tiger purred, reminding that the princess's magic must awaken as soon as possible, and asked to stop doing stupid things. The big cat explained that Khalid and the princess should get as close as possible. There was confusion and surprise in Leslie's amethyst eyes. Tara was surprised that the girl didn't know that magical creatures could talk. The brunette asked in a trembling voice if Tara could talk. Leslie asked why she only found out about it now. The assistant explained that magical creatures usually did not speak. He insisted that this tiger was special. The blonde explained that this was another thing that distinguished Prince Khalid from others. The tiger asked why the girl and the prince avoided copulation. Rushing her head against the girl's leg, Tara informed him that she had to awaken her magic faster. With a trembling voice, the brunette asked why he had touched her leg. Simon explained that he could not understand the beast as well as Her Highness. The boy asked her to retell him what the tiger was talking about. Looking down, Leslie explained that he had claimed that she needed to awaken her powers as soon as possible. The blonde apologized, suggesting that they seemed like a bunch of boring grumblers to the girls. After all that was said, the tiger slowly moved away into the distance. The princess was outraged that the creature was leaving so easily. The actress was genuinely surprised that everyone had been eager to awaken her powers lately. Both Simon and the priestesses, and even Tara. Frowning, the princess asked what the synastry meant. Leslie said that she had been feeling strangely restless lately. The girl explained that she felt uncomfortable because Khalid had not appeared in the brunette's sight for several days. Her temples began to throb sharply, and shuddering, she realized that she missed the customer. The actress could not understand her feelings, because she was worried about him and hated him at the same time. The girl suggested that synastry united the feelings of related people. Simon tried to explain something, but the guard interrupted him. The girl said that the twins had experienced something similar. The assistant looked at the brunette with disapproval and asked what she was doing in the same room with them. Leslie felt uncomfortable with everyone barging into her room whenever they wanted. Lana explained that the twins were connected by the power of synastry, and compensated for each other's shortcomings. And she explained that she was causing trouble for everyone, while he, on the contrary, was very calm and silent. The girl said that they could always find a common language. Lowering her amethyst eyes, the actress assured that she had never experienced anything like this and had never met anyone with whom she could feel at ease. So she developed the habit of always being vigilant, even when she was with the madam she had known for years. The girl doubted whether she could be in such a close relationship with Khalid. Leslie asked if synastry had any effect on the people who were connected to it. The guardian said that there was no strong effect because no matter how much she trained, her power would not transfer itself. Smiling, Lana said that her brother had been a model child since childhood, and she had relied on him many times when problems arose. The brunette said that her Tara didn't look very good, but that it had improved significantly. Putting a cup of aromatic coffee on the table, the brunette suggested that she should quickly awaken the force. Simon looked at the girl and explained that this was not the only reason. Standing up abruptly from the comfortable sofa, the girl noticed that this was true, and she had to learn to control her own powers. Standing next to the family flag, the actress realized that she had to sort out her feelings. Leslie hoped that she could become the perfect princess who would benefit the empire. The girl remembered that according to the contract, she was not supposed to be guided by emotions. Jumping up abruptly with tears in her eyes, she said that she must train hard to become the best knight for Her Highness. Looking at the guard, the brunette said that she was doing a great job and she trusted her. The girl burst into tears and said that it didn't matter what anyone said, and she promised to always be the princess's knight. Looking back, Leslie realized that she reminded her of a large puppy. The guard promised that she would devote her entire life to the actress and watch how her princess could charm people. The guard noticed that the prince had already returned. The blonde asked if Lana had promised him the same. Khalid reminded her to ask her to look after the princess and not to chat with her. Waving his hand, the prince explained that if Lana was finished, she could be free. Having bowed, they promised to leave. Soon the door slammed shut with a creak. The brunette looked down and noticed that they were not alone. The prince reminded her that this was their room. Turning away, the actress explained that she had been alone lately. The blonde looked at his beloved in surprise. He said that he had asked Simon and the twins to look after her. The guy said that he had ordered the priestesses to pay special attention to her. Khalid asked if that wasn't enough for the girl. The brunette sighed heavily and thanked him for it. The girl couldn't understand if he was a prince or just pretending. Khalid assured that he would leave soon. The brunette jumped up abruptly and asked how he could leave so often. Leslie explained that she was well aware that he was busy. She reported that the priestesses were worried that they were drifting apart. The blonde asked if the princess was worried about it. The guy asked if the girl was worried about him. The guy smiled when he heard the positive answer. A little confused, Leslie explained that she meant that it was part of their contract. Khalid was surprised that she was talking about a contract again. The brunette suggested changing the subject and talking about Lana. The prince guessed that the girl was talking about the girl becoming her personal guard. Khalid said that he planned to introduce someone to her after they got to Irene. The guy claimed that there would be another guard since Lana had many duties. Leslie nodded approvingly and assured her that she thought the same despite the fact that she was an incredible person. The brunette said that in her homeland there were not many female knights. The actress said that they were given virtually no chance to learn how to handle weapons. And even if the girls passed this stage, they faced many other difficulties. Leslie said that this made her respect the guardian greatly. She noted that Tara Lana looked powerful. The prince asked again with surprise about Tara. The actress assured that Tara looked like a fiery phoenix. Noticing Khalid's surprised look, the brunette explained that the phoenix was a bird that burned in its own fire for the sake of its master. The girl noticed the gaze on herself and asked why the guy was looking at her like that. The prince said that most people thought that the guard was weak because she had poor control over her magic. Leslie recalled his words that Lana had many responsibilities. She assumed that the prince was showing his trust in her powers. The guy agreed that the bride was right, but no one thought so when they saw the brunette for the first time. The actress asked him why he thought she was too careless with her words. He explained that he believed the guardian had always been able to discern people. With surprise, Leslie asked how long they had known each other to come to such conclusions. Turning away, the guy muttered that they had known each other even longer than she knew. The brunette asked where he was going. The prince asked if he should stay. Khalid noticed that the princess always looked upset when he left. Gently kissing the brunette on the forehead, the guy explained that because of this, it was hard for him to leave her alone every time. Khalid wished her sweet dreams. The actress wondered if she should ask Simon or Lana to help with the transformation. The priestess explained that Prince Khalid would have been a much better fit. She explained that there was a limit to physical contact with outsiders. Sue offered to help the princess. The girl explained that this method was used by the training center in Sarajevo. The priestess said that he increased the interaction of people with many forces, and thus Terraman became clearer and magic stronger. She remembered that Lana used this method. Looking down, the brunette assumed that the guard would be angry when she found out that they told the princess about this. Leslie wondered if her presence would interfere with the girl's work. The rising sun painted the dark clouds in soft pink. Smiling, the brunette thanked Khalid for bringing her to the deck. The guy noted that it would be good for her to breathe some fresh air. The actress asked anxiously if she had distracted anyone with her appearance. The blonde assured that the ship had been enchanted with powerful magic and claimed that everything would be fine. Khalid assured that no one would disturb them as long as he was with her. The girl asked if he would stay with her. The prince explained that he would not leave her alone. Looking down, Leslie assumed that he was very busy. The guy explained that she was missing and explained that he had to be with her now. Smiling, the blonde explained that soon she would become an integral part of their entire country. With speaking eyes, the actress asked if he was going to do it right on the deck. The blonde explained that he would continue to stand with her to greet the dawn. The girl asked why he was doing this. Leslie reminded him that he had said that the ship was not safe. The blonde suggested that it was time to tell him, since they were getting closer. Confused, the girl asked what he meant. The sun slowly rose over the horizon and cast beautiful reflections on the water. Khalid explained that he should have done this a long time ago. With a furious roar, the guy's Tara approached the loving couple. Stroking the tiger, the blonde explained that the time had come for this conversation. Soon, joyful cries were heard on the ship. Seeing the canyon, the crew realized that they had finally arrived home after a long journey. The brunette looked at the luxurious gorge with admiration. Khalid said that the only way to get to Sarajevo was to go through the Khazarad Canyon. The prince extended his hand and asked if the girl would like to look at it. Holding her hand, the blonde stood on the bow of the ship watching the rising sun. Leslie supposed that the rising sun that illuminated the magical empire made her feel as if she had arrived home. After the bright flashes, the guy carefully hugged his beloved, covering her fragile body with a cloak. A small shiver ran through the brunette's body. The girl tried her best to cuddle up to the blonde, trying to find protection and peace next to him. Khalid wondered if that was too much of a greeting. Soon the bright flashes died down and Leslie sighed with relief, realizing that she could breathe again. The prince asked her if everything was okay. Having calmed down, the brunette thanked her for her concern. Soon a loud roar was heard on the ship. Turning around, Khalid saw a guy who had unceremoniously jumped on board the ship, bringing destruction with him. The ship rocked from the powerful impact. The crew struggled to stay on their feet. Leslie, wearing low heels, almost fell, but Khalid carefully caught her and asked her to be careful. Slowly walking along the side of the ship, the brown-haired man with a smile claimed that he was sure that the prince had already died. Hiding behind her lover, the girl was surprised where Prince Caliph came from. The guy's face was covered with many scars, and his face was overgrown with stubble. The blonde coldly asked if that was how his brother greeted the dead man. The prince laughed and asked what he must have thought when he had not appeared in the country for the last 2 years. Khalid asked how long he would hang around on the ship. The brunette asked him not to be so rude. The uninvited guest looked with interest at the princess he had brought. Noticing the girl, he assumed that she was the reason why his brother had not returned home for many years. The blonde coldly noted that his brother knew perfectly well where he had been all this time. A little confused, the caliph asked if the blonde had brought the girl from there. The brunette apologized for his rudeness and asked to tell if the prince had told the truth. Smiling, the girl confirmed the brunette's assumption and introduced herself as Neris. The brunette assured that it was supposedly an honor for her that upon arrival in the empire, she was met by the famous warrior Scarlet Wing. The guy said that there was no need to be so formal and asked to call him simply Caliph or Commander. The brunette was surprised that his nephew hadn't said anything about this before, because he could have gathered his people and given them a grand reception. Frowning, Khalid suggested that his uncle would not have been so reckless if he had warned him about this earlier. The brunette said that they were very sorry that he saw it alone, and suggested that he should have taken Sakira with him. The prince asked how his aunt had been doing during his absence. The caliph proudly told him that his wife had recently become pregnant. The blonde remembered that his uncle had spoken of this before he had sailed away. The prince proudly told that it was more than 2 years ago, and she gave birth to a beautiful son. The man sincerely hoped that this time a girl would be born. Leslie realized that in this country there was a tradition of starting a family with 5 or 6 children. The brunette remembered that Prince Khalifa was the uncle of the crown prince and that Hazek belonged to him. The land in the east of the empire included the Khazarl Canyon. Seeing the girl's puzzled face, Simon explained that in Irene, all the descendants of the imperial family were princes and princesses. The city of Sarajevo, which was located in the west of the empire, belonged to Prince Khalid. Only the eastern and western lands were guarded by princes, while the southern and western lands were under the supervision of the imperial guard. The crown prince was the strongest warrior in the entire empire, and so the blonde guarded the territories that needed protection. Thanks to Khalid's protection, Sarajevo became the strongest region in the empire. Many years ago, the city was dangerous. Simon promised to tell about it a little later. The caliph explained that he had heard that where the girl came from, people greet each other with a handshake. The brunette extended his massive hands and said that it was a great honor for him to meet her. The girl realized that Prince Caliph was one of the most important people in the empire. For Leslie, shaking hands was a bit of an odd greeting, but she knew she needed to make a good impression. The actress hesitantly reached out her hand to the prince's hand. Suddenly, magical energy burst forth and illuminated the space around her. The girl shuddered sharply when she realized that the flames were quickly engulfing her tender body. Grabbing the bride's hand, Khalid helped her cool her ardor. Lana begged her brother to let her go. The guard asked if everything was all right with Her Highness. Khalid coldly ordered the blonde to examine her. The assistant asked for Her Highness's forgiveness. The caliph looked at his palm with disbelief, as if he did not understand what had happened a moment ago. The blonde looked at his uncle with disapproval. Leslie called out to the customer, noticing that this behavior was not typical for the guy. Clenching his fist tightly, the brunette said that he found it hard to believe that she had not yet awakened. Simon asked Prince Caliph to curb his curiosity. The brunette laughed and asked for forgiveness for scaring him. The man explained that few could resist his magic. Clutching her hand tightly, the actress realized that what had happened was accompanied by magic. The tiger sank its blade-like teeth into the caliph's blood-red cloak and quickly tore it into tiny pieces. The brown-haired man said that he was very sorry. Uncle begged Khalid to tell his Tara something. The actress realized that at this rate, things could only get worse. Leslie turned to the commander, asking if he would mind if they continued shaking hands. Looking at him with a smile, the brunette extended her hand. Leslie asked the commander if he minded if they ended the greeting there. The brunette offered to shake the prince's hands anyway. The right hand warned that Prince Caliph's magic was very strong and aggressive. The blonde noted that it was good that the girl was so polite, and warned that it was not worth risking yourself. The brunette explained to Simon that he had heard everything. Touching the princess's hand, the blonde said that there was no need to rush. Smiling, the girl noted that everything would be fine with her. The actress was curious about the kind of person the warlord was and wanted to feel his magic. The blonde noted that his uncle had greeted them so awkwardly that he would be embarrassed to leave everything like that. Looking into her lover's eyes, the brunette asked if he agreed with the assistant's opinion. Khalid did not know how she could refuse the girl. Smiling, the brunette offered the military leader to shake hands after all. She hesitantly extended her hand. The actress felt like she was in the middle of a fire, but the flames did not burn her. Leslie thought it should hurt, but in fact there was no pain. The girl walked through the forest shrouded in fire. A clear vision appeared before her eyes. The claws of the creature slowly tore apart her protective dome. Khalid pulled the princess back sharply, hugging her tightly. The brunette, slightly confused, asked why he had done this so suddenly. Powerful gusts of wind came out from under the wings of the giant bird. Looking at Tara, the girl realized why the military leader received the nickname Red Wing. The crown prince couldn't help but laugh as he watched the giant bird. Leslie was genuinely surprised and was sure that he would draw his sword from its sheath. The blonde noticed that his bride was indeed special. The caliph ordered his Tara to calm down a little. After these words, the huge bird disappeared over the horizon. The blonde warned Leslie that he could bite it. Looking thoughtfully at the actress, the brunette noticed that she was indeed very brave. The man asked again if it was true that she had come from the other side. Simon looked at the princess with surprise and noticed that she was able to cope with the prince's magic. The blonde said that no one had ever managed to do this before. Everyone on the ship began to discuss this event heatedly. Looking at the crew in surprise, Leslie asked what they were talking about. Khalid gently stroked the girl's hair and kissed her passionately. Pressing her fragile body tightly to himself, the guy said that he could not stand it any longer and asked her to answer his question first. Leslie felt a strange sensation in her lower abdomen and she couldn't imagine what was going on there. The Caliph admitted that he had not felt anything like this for a long time, and asked what kind of magic the girl possessed. The warlord admitted that the unique color of her eyes and the energy of the water were promising, but he had no idea that it was so strong. The man was amazed that the princess was not even afraid of his water. The actress explained that it only happened after Khalid was there. The brunette explained that he most likely instinctively understood that he was much stronger than her. The Caliph noticed that despite the elements, the girl's strength was offensive. The blonde looked at his frightened brother in surprise. The uncle said that he was just a little nervous. The crown prince assured that Tara would not have appeared due to crazy nerves. Leslie remembered that Tara appeared when the owner's life was in danger. The brunette couldn't believe that she had actually attacked the prince. The girl looked at her fragile hand in surprise. The Caliph said that it was time for him to go, because if he returned late, Shakira would be angry. As he left, the uncle wished the blonde a pleasant return home. The brunette said that he would have to work hard immediately upon arrival in Surebur. With his eyes downcast, Khalid asked his brother to protect his lands until his arrival. The military leader asked his nephew not to worry about it. The man assured him that if there were problems, he would be able to help. With a light, springy movement of his legs, he jumped onto his griffin and flew off into the sunset sky. Soon the shores began to appear. The prince claimed that they had arrived at the port of Kajak. He joyfully reported that they had finally reached dry land. The heavy anchor quickly sank into the water. The crew was overjoyed that they had finally arrived home. Leslie imagined Arena as a golden country that was surrounded by deserts. She had imagined only gloss and luxury. But for some reason unknown to her, this view suddenly seemed familiar. The actress was very embarrassed by the public kiss. The girl remembered that Simon told her that relationships are not built only on physical intimacy, but also had important feelings. The brunette stared at the prince. She wondered if her feelings for him could be called sincere. Leslie was driven crazy by his bright smile, his sudden kisses, his honesty, and the fleetingness of his touches. The brunette realized that all these factors were the cause of her rapid heartbeat. The blonde asked if the bride liked his country. The girl hesitated a little, not knowing what to answer. Simon invited the princess to eat in the cabin. The assistant said that he had something important to tell her. Simon explained that it was just a guess, but in his opinion, Her Highness's magic was already gaining strength. The girl reminded that the blonde told her that first she had to become stronger, then the Terra would form, and then she could develop her abilities. The brunette reported that she felt nothing. The assistant assumed that the girl was an exception to the rule. Simon claimed that His Majesty the Caliph had deliberately allowed their forces to clash. The blonde suggested that the prince wanted to show his superiority in this way. The right hand said that Caliph's friendliness meant nothing. The boy assured that in Irene one could make a man bow his head without using a single threat. The princess asked furiously if he had tried to make her kneel. Looking away, the blonde said that his uncle was a rude man. Blin was surprised that Leslie even shook his hand. Adjusting his monocle, the blonde said that there were only two options: surrender or accept the challenge. The girl was surprised to assume that she had accepted the challenge. The princess explained that she had done so unintentionally. The blonde said that a person in his right mind would have given in and avoided direct contact with the caliph. But in the brunette's case, the decision was made by her own force. The actress asked when she would get a Terra. Leslie realized that she hadn't noticed any new animal appearing next to her. Simon looked away and assumed that Her Highness already had an invisible Terra, and that he was already coping with his duties perfectly. The assistant said that the Terra is merciful to those who are kind to its master, but when faced with an enemy, the Terra attacks. The blonde explained that Terra's behavior was understandable on an instinctive level. The guy suggested that it was difficult for the lady to understand the meaning of Terra's actions. The assistant said that the brunette's actions were most likely dictated by intuition. The prince suggested that the actress was already subconsciously ripe for this and would continue to develop her strength. Khalid asked the girl how she felt when he tried to suppress her. The brunette admitted that she did not even realize that the man was trying to do this. Leslie said she felt like she was at the foot of a mountain where a volcano was about to erupt. The brunette admitted that she was confused at first, but then she realized that it was just a vision. and after that she calmed down. Jumping up from his seat, Simon asked the girl again if the prince's feelings had been transmitted to her. The blonde explained that it was not just a vision, but what her Thera had felt. The assistant was sure that the princess had already acquired Thera, and the magical creature had transmitted its sensations to her. The blonde said that soon Leslie would reveal her abilities. The guy was sure that after the revelation of her abilities, the entire scientific world would be turned upside down. Waving his hand, he said that as soon as they got to Anan, it was worth trying to test her power again. Simon quickly left, leaving the princess confused. The girl said that she was not even surprised by the guy's impulsiveness. The prince reported that he was surprised that his bride was even more stunning than he expected. Stroking his beloved's soft hair, Khalid assured that he was even more enchanted by her. The actress was a little confused because no one saw it. She wondered what the compliment was about. Leslie realized that when they were in public, the game was justified, but not in private. The blonde, gently stroking her face, explained that he was enchanted by her and was not even afraid to admit that he was in love. The guy invited the brunette to go out. Khalid guessed that she must have liked the port of Kajak. He confidently took the girl's hand, wanting to take a walk. The girl claimed that she was sure that they had already arrived at their destination. The blonde explained that they had only docked temporarily and promised to leave for Inan soon. Leslie was delighted by the beauty of the city and was very sorry that they were only there for a short time. The guy's face was covered by a hood. The blonde offered the girl to give her something to remember this place by. Khalid offered her to choose whatever she wanted. The girl was genuinely surprised that gold jewelry was sold here right on open counters under the sky. The brunette asked if the gold was like any other common commodity. The prince pressed his finger to his lips and said that they should not attract too much attention. Pressing her hands tightly to her mouth, the brunette asked for forgiveness. Smiling, the guy said that he was sincerely glad that no one had discovered them yet. Khalid suggested enjoying this moment of freedom. Taking one of the decorations with a luxurious blue stone and many small diamonds, the blonde suggested that it would suit the actress. The guy allowed her to make her choice herself. Noticing that his beloved was not nearby, the prince called her. Turning around, Khalid noticed that the brunette was sitting next to a little girl who was also already selling her goods. The girl asked the brunette if she had made the jewelry herself. Smiling, the prince was surprised by his chosen one's choice, because she was not interested in either a room full of sapphires or a room full of gold. Turning around, Leslie said that she was choosing a hairpin with a small pink stone. Having pinned a small lock of hair, with a radiant smile, the girl asked if His Majesty liked the decoration. The blonde was delighted that at the sight of the small hairpin, Leslie's eyes lit up. Khalid didn't know how to behave with her. Assuming that the guy didn't like the jewelry, the brunette asked if she could take the blue one. Without hesitation, the prince said that she could take both. The guy handed the gold coin to the girl. Khalid hoped that soon his beloved would shine and nothing would remain from the shadow of doubt. The blonde said he was going to have a look around. The girl stopped him, assuring him that she wanted to go with him too. Leslie couldn't understand why he was leaving so quickly. The brunette noted that everything had been fine up until that moment. Interrupting her, Khalid claimed that they had been exposed and said that when he gave the signal, they would have to run as fast as they could. The guy reassured the actress that if they did not attract attention, then no one would chase him. The blonde explained that if they were discovered, then they would not be able to sail from here that day. Lana called out to the prince and asked him to allow her to accompany him. The crowd began to ask whether the brunette meant the crown prince. The people were overjoyed that their hero Prince Khalid had returned. The people were sure that they had to welcome His Highness. The blonde man squeezed her hand tightly and said that it was time to run. There was a smile on the guy's face and he abruptly pulled his beloved's hand. After a walk around the city, the princess was relaxing in a luxurious bath in the company of priestesses. The brunette asked if Her Majesty had enjoyed the walk. Laughing, Leslie claimed that the port was very lively and even a little magical. She admitted that she missed the land a little and even felt better after a short walk. One of the priestesses asked what color clothes she wanted to wear. The brunette promised to style Her Highness's hair and suggested wearing something new and elegant. The princess explained that she would entrust her image to the girls that day. Sue suggested that the brunette choose the jewelry herself. The priestess opened a small box containing several necklaces and bracelets. Leslie was amazed that there were even amethyst ornaments. The brunette sighed heavily and said that they were very beautiful. but unfortunately they did not carry magic. Sue noted that these stones perfectly matched the color of the princess's eyes. The brunette reported that it was possible to engrave runes on stones. The priestess explained that runes were magical symbols and objects with runes became magical. The girl claimed that the symbol was applied not only to jewelry, but also to clothing, dishes, and even ships. The brunette claimed that their power would not be enough to imbue the object with strong magic. The priestess explained that they could simply ruin the gem. Looking at the girls, Leslie asked again if they could make magical items. The girl explained that the priestesses could apply runes to the jewelry, but warned that their power would not be enough. The princess asked why they came to such a conclusion. Sue lowered her eyes and admitted that they had recently become full priestesses and had not practiced for a long time, since they had spent 2 years on the other side. Sue said that the prince usually wore the runes. The brunette explained that amethyst was considered a precious stone and could not be damaged. She explained that imbuing objects with weak magic was a dubious undertaking. Leslie was very surprised that the priestess was worried about such trifles. The princess was ready to wear the necklace as it was. Taking the ruby, the brunette asked whose property this jewel was. One of the priestesses said that all the jewels that were on this ship belonged to the princess. The actress hesitantly asked if she could dispose of the stones as she wished. The brunette suggested that the girl practice putting runes on them together. She assured that she wanted to try it too. The girl sat on one of the comfortable sofas in her room. Looking at her new look, Leslie realized that the dress was a little short in the middle and the front. The princess became alert and heard distinct, quick steps towards her room. The girl was incredibly happy to see Khalid. She explained that she was waiting for him to ask her something. The blonde grabbed her hand abruptly and pulled her along. Lana, breaking into a scream, told His Highness that she was very sorry. Looking at the breathless guy, the actress asked him what had happened. The brunette noticed that the screams coming from her were similar to the guard's voice. The prince said that she was right, and the brunette began asking him about what happened at the port. Leslie asked why he ran away. The girl suggested that if he explained, it would be much easier. The blonde, embarrassed, noted that the girl was telling the truth. The prince was confused and could not explain why he ran away. Gently taking her hand, Khalid assumed that he ran away for this reason. The guy asked his beloved not to run away again, because she said there was no need for it anymore. Leslie reminded that they were alone in the room and she had no one to hide from. The blonde asked the actress to respond to her confession. A spark of passion flared in her amethyst eyes. The actress tried her best to convey her emotions, because she realized that they were on different levels. Slowly moving away, the guy said that he was ready to wait if she needed a little time. Leslie called out to him, but she doubted whether her feelings were the love that people made legends about. The brunette looked into his eyes and realized that his gaze stirred her imagination. She was madly in love with his self-confidence, his thick eyebrows, his strong shoulders, and his dark skin. She was in love with his long fingers with their protruding veins. The guy admitted that he didn't know what was going on in her soul. The princess hesitantly said that she liked him too. The girl was incredibly happy that she finally decided to say it. The actress explained that lately various thoughts had been bothering her, and everything was mixed up in her head. The brunette said affirmatively that now she was sure of her feelings. Having picked her up in his arms, Khalid sat the girl down on the table and kissed her passionately. The actress asked what exactly attracted him to her. The blonde informed her that if he started listing reasons, she would have to do the same. He took off his robe, revealing his muscular torso. Khalid asked if she was ready to hear his answer now. She gently placed her hand on his massive chest. Leslie informed him that she was not ready to hear the answer yet. The embarrassed brunette asked if he thought she would tell him all her secrets. The girl looked away and asked why Khalid had taken off his clothes. Smiling, the guy admitted that he felt hot just from her words. The blonde asked if she wanted to have a drink. The actress did not know where their relationship would lead. The girl hesitantly asked if he liked warm wine. The blonde touched her velvety lips and kissed her passionately, suggesting that they begin. The blonde suggested sharing secrets, taking turns talking about what they liked about each other. The actress, embarrassed, admitted that she liked his voice. The prince asked what exactly she liked about his voice. With trembling hands, the brunette explained what was difficult for her to explain. Gently taking the white-skinned hand, the prince explained that he wanted to know everything about his beloved's feelings. He started whispering her name in her ear. The girl blushed and asked him to stop, assuring her that it was quite ticklish. Pressing her to the table, Khalid suggested getting down to business. The blonde asked the girl to admit that what was happening between them was extremely rare. Having laid his beloved on the table, the prince explained that he was going crazy with thoughts about her. Khalid explained that he wanted it so badly. The silver goblet fell to the floor, spilling expensive wine across the parquet. The actress asked if he would accept it if she didn't want it. Confused, the prince asked if he should stop. Stroking the blonde's face, the girl asked him not to stop. The girl said that he could do whatever he wanted. The actress realized that she liked absolutely everything about her lover. Leslie realized that when he began to caress her, the whole world faded. The girl realized that she had already confessed her feelings to him, and now there was no point in worrying about it. The prince said that they could not go to the bedroom, and here no one would disturb them. He began to tenderly kiss his beloved's neck. The girl said that when he spoke in such a voice, she could not refuse. Khalid asked again if he had heard correctly, and if this could be taken as her consent. The debts that fell upon the brunette after her mother's departure were a disaster much greater than the women's departure itself. Distinct footsteps were heard behind the girl, causing her to turn around nervously. The woman asked if the little girl wanted to follow her mother. Leslie didn't want much. It would be enough for her if someone helped pay off her debts. The brunette held out her hand and asked if she wanted to go with her. With a trembling voice, the little girl asked who the woman was. The brunette suggested that Leslie follow her mother or her. Even though the brunette had no reason to live, she was most afraid of dying. The girl hesitantly extended her hand to the stranger. The brunette asked the young flower to follow her. The woman firmly took the little girl by the hand, and from afar, a man under an umbrella watched them. Opening her eyes, Leslie realized that she had had another strange dream. The brunette couldn't understand why a night with her lover was followed by memories of the past. The actress was burning with shame, remembering that they did it right on the table. Leslie reassured herself that she felt very good at that time. Entering the room, Tara reported that she had done an excellent job. Tiger noted that the brunette had tried very hard last night. Falling out of bed, Leslie asked how long the big cat had been in this room. The priestess entered the room and noticed that Her Highness had already woken up. Bowing, Sue asked for forgiveness for taking the princess by surprise. The brunette, embarrassed, asked what was happening. She quickly covered herself with a sheet and asked what was happening. Bowing, Sue asked for forgiveness, presenting her with a box. The priestess looked down and tried to explain what was happening. She said that they had ruined everything. The brunette said that they had tried to engrave precious amethysts and had ruined everything. One of the girls burst into tears and said that the jewel could not be returned to its original appearance. Smiling, the princess said that she would not be angry with them, since she herself allowed this sign to be applied to the precious stones. The girl reminded that this was the first magical item that they tried to make together, and promised to cherish this decoration. Bowing, the priestess said that they had never known anyone with such a big heart, and promised to try even harder in the future. The actress forced a smile onto her face and realized that the girls might have had problems. The princess decided to consult Simon about the incident. The girl didn't want the priestess to get punished because of her. Leslie decided to ask if there were other stones she could practice on. The blonde man sternly explained that this was not an option. The princess was a little taken aback by such an abrupt refusal. The actress did not understand what she said wrong, because she simply asked where Simon was. Khalid said that he would not change their agreement, especially the last clause. The girl asked if he meant the clause about making love. Leslie suggested that he thought she would forbid him from touching her. The actress asked him what he was so worried about. The brunette reminded that yesterday everything was consensual. The girl assured that there was no need for it, since they both felt each other. The princess suggested removing this clause. Khalid asked uncertainly what she meant. The girl suggested that it was rather selfish of her. Leslie recalled that she decided to add that point at the last minute, without even taking his opinion into account. The actress suggested simply removing that point, since the blonde didn't like it. The girl said that in her country it was not possible to change a contract after signing it, and suggested that in his country this was still acceptable. The blonde whispered that if she changed her mind and wanted to return everything to the way it was, it would be too late. The princess looked down and asked again if she should have carried their contract. Pressing her tightly to his waist, Khalid suggested that they stand like that for a little while longer. More than 25 days had passed since the ship had sailed. The relationship between Leslie and the blonde had begun to change little by little. The blonde looked at the endless sea and said that as soon as they arrived in Anan, he would need to take care of one thing. Simon wondered if this was somehow related to Her Highness's abilities. Looking into the distance, the prince said that it was necessary to find out about the place where Nellie lived before. The assistant hesitantly asked if the gentleman wanted to know about that lady. Khalid explained that despite the fact that the girl had grown up a lot, he was alarmed that she did not remember him at all. The blonde doubted that she had simply forgotten him over time. The guy was sure that his beloved had lost her memory. Khalid said that he wanted to ask his lover a few questions. The blonde asked if she really didn't remember their first meeting or if she was pretending. Leslie said that she remembered their squabble at the ball very well. Embarrassed, the prince asked for forgiveness for that time. The guy explained that he had been looking for her for so long that their meeting then seemed like a miracle to him. Khalid, seeing how she smiled at that guy, could think of nothing better than to insult her. The actress insisted that she didn't know then that everything would turn out exactly like that. The brunette said that her lover shouldn't have done that. The girl explained that she took that conversation as part of her job. Leslie asked him why he was looking for her. The girl asked him again if he knew that she was a good actress. The brunette admitted that his sudden aggression was something new for her. The princess took a small cookie from a silver tray. The actress admitted that she usually found a way to approach people right away, but she immediately had a fight with him. The girl admitted that it was quite funny for her. Leslie explained that she was very proud of herself for having managed to hurt the prince's feelings. Khalid reminded her that long before they met at the ball, when she was not yet Veronica, it was raining heavily on the bridge. The guy reminded him that it was then that they first met. With genuine surprise in her eyes, the princess asked him again what he meant. Simon was amazed that after the magical restrictions were lifted, she did not remember everything. The prince reminded that his beloved should have remembered, but she could not. The blonde suggested that he needed to investigate everything thoroughly. The assistant was worried, because if he didn't remember everything, their relationship would be ruined in 2 years. Khalid turned around abruptly and told the boy that danger was approaching. The wind blew the girl's thick blonde hair. The blonde, clutching the spear tightly in her hands, asked who was on the ship. The girl asked if the prince had met all the guests half naked. The prince sternly asked Nefer to step aside. The blonde asked the guy to explain himself first. The uninvited guest hovered over the prince, looking into his amber eyes. "Leave your cabin." Leslie heard a rumble on the deck and came out. With fury, the brunette asked what they were doing. Jealousy flashed in her amethyst eyes. The princess asked if anyone could explain what was happening. Looking at the girl, Nefer asked who she was. Khalid explained that the girl was his future wife. The uninvited guest stood up and asked when Khalid had managed to get married. The prince said that he would soon get married and asked the blonde to get off him. Fury splashed in the amber eyes. The girl realized why she had not heard from Khalid for a long time. The blonde could not believe her ears and reminded her that he promised to return in 3 months. The rage was transformed into magical energy that swirled around Nefer. Clutching the girl's weapon tightly in his hand, the prince ordered her to calm down. The blonde noticed that Khalid had no conscience at all. The girl asked if he had ever remembered her brother, who was stuck in remote areas because of him. Nefer snatched her dagger from its sheath and prepared to attack. Stepping in front of the uninvited guest, Leslie asked her to stop. Scarlet drops of blood slowly flowed from the princess's cheek onto the cold deck. The severed hair, the color of a raven feather, froze in the air for a few moments. With a forced smile, the actress said that she was very sorry that their first meeting was going this way. The brunette suggested resolving the matter peacefully. Those present were amazed by her courage. Sitting down next to the girl, Khalid asked if everything was okay. Her face was wrapped in bandages. Leslie said that there was no need to worry so much about a small scratch. Khalid asked if she was sure that there were no more wounds. Tears flowed from Sue's emerald eyes. The priestess was sure that if she had a little more experience, she would have been able to heal Her Highness's wounds. With a slight movement of her hand, the brunette removed the bandage, saying that everything was fine with her. Looking at the small scratch, the princess was sure that she had managed to dodge the attack. Leslie assumed that the intruder had some kind of magical object that could throw people back in this way. The priestess suggested that the girl steam her feet and calm her nerves. Sue brought a small basin of hot water. The princess lowered her bare feet into the bowl. The priestess handed over a tray of aromatic tea and suggested that it would help the princess calm down a little. It seemed to Leslie that those present should calm down and not worry about such trifles. Soon there was an insistent knock on the door. Opening the door, the blonde said that the attacker wanted to apologize for what happened. Nefer bowed her head and asked forgiveness from Her Highness for the recklessness that had caused her trouble. The blonde regretted that she dared to hurt the one who would one day become empress and must be punished. The girl explained that if she wished, she could take her lands of Sennar. The princess stood up and explained that there was no need for this. The brunette assumed that she was also to blame for what happened. Leslie asked if the people present could leave them alone for a few minutes. The girl was sure that it would be humiliating for Nefer to apologize in front of everyone. The prince asked his beloved with concern what would happen if she did something again. Leslie explained that she doubted it and asked to be left alone. The princess asked the blonde to get up from her knees. The girl explained that it all happened because she did not immediately understand how strong she was. The brunette asked for forgiveness for attacking Princess Nefer like that. Raising her amber eyes, the blonde asked how she knew her name. It was difficult for her to remember such a huge number of names, since the imperial family tree was huge. At the time of signing the contract, the brunette was sure that Princess Nefer was an important member of the imperial family. Simon confirmed her assumption, explaining that she was Prince Khalid's cousin on his mother's side. The blonde owned borderlands in the southern part of Irene. Smiling, Leslie said that she knew the man who was entrusted with guarding the southern part of the empire. The guest said that there was nothing special about her, and there was much to learn. Kneeling down next to the girl, the actress once again asked for forgiveness for leaving such a terrible impression. The brunette asked if it was possible to keep this a secret from the rest of the imperial family. With enthusiasm, Nefer asked again if she was going to make a scandal about it. After putting her feet in the hot water, Leslie said that she would prefer if she kept it a secret, because this incident was very indecent. The brunette admitted that she was ashamed that she had steamed her feet and bandaged the wound just because of a small scratch. The princess was a little taken aback, because she was sure that the wife of her selfish cousin was no different from him. The blonde realized that her new acquaintance was completely different. Nefer noticed that the girl had a mysterious and captivating charm. The blonde noticed that the princess's outfit perfectly matched her amethyst eyes. The princess of the western coasts was delighted that the brunette had an aura of friendliness about her. Khalid walked into the room hesitantly. The blonde asked why she agreed to marry the prince. Nefer asked if the princess was being held on the ship against her will. The princess asked the brunette with concern if she was being blackmailed or kidnapped. The girl asked her brother's fiancé to blink slowly twice if she was on the ship against her will. Leslie explained that Khalid had his faults. The guest said that just because the guy was a good leader, it didn't mean he would be a good husband. Khalid hovered over the girl and ordered her to get off the ship immediately. The girl explained that she was sure that her lover would do everything so that she would not regret her choice. Khalid was embarrassed by such words, and a bright blush spread across his face. Leslie explained that she truly loved him. The blonde man lowered his eyes and said that he loved her too. The brunette, despite the fact that she was afraid that her true feelings would come to light, realized that one day Khalid would understand everything. The girl didn't understand what part of her wanted this to happen. The brunette wondered how she could secretly convey her feelings to him. Nefer asked what her brother had done to deserve Neris's love. The blonde suggested that he had saved the world in his past life. Simon said they needed to leave the room. Sitting on the sofa, the princess asked if he wanted to tell her something. The blonde asked if she should appoint a priestess until they got to Inan. The girl waved her hand and asked why a powerful priestess would accompany a weak warrior. The blonde replied that it was not necessary at all. Smiling, Nefer said that she would not mind if Simon were her priest. The assistant, embarrassed, said that a woman would be more suitable. The girl asked the blonde to tell the twins to come see her later. The princess said that she missed the guard. Simon grinned and explained that he was sure that San and Lana would be happy to hear this. Looming over the assistant, the princess admitted that she missed the blonde man most of all. Nefer explained that she was glad to be on the ship and see him after so many years. Embarrassed, the blonde said that he too was glad to see Her Highness in full health. The princess wondered if he really didn't understand her hints. Simon asked Her Highness if everything was okay. The girl said that everything was fine, and she was just glad to meet him again. The blonde reported that about 3 weeks ago she received news from her brother in Sarajevo. The princess explained that something strange had begun to happen at the border. Coming out on deck, Nefer explained that the mutants had begun to attack less frequently. The assistant hesitantly asked what she meant. The blonde explained that it was like the calm before the storm. She claimed that ignorant people were saying that it was a sign that the curse was weakening. The blonde asked again if exactly 3 weeks had passed since then. The girl answered affirmatively and asked him what he meant. Simon said that they crossed the border at about that time. The blonde assumed that the number of creatures had decreased after the dragon's appearance and hoped that it was just a coincidence. Sitting in a comfortable chair, the princess asked why it took them so long to return home. Khalid explained that he was not obliged to explain anything to his guest. The brunette explained that he could have embellished the truth. After the guy's surprised question, the actress explained that it was worth doing as when they told their love story. The brunette suggested telling her that they fell in love with each other, but their love story was not destined to happen, and that they still fought for the relationship, and somehow miraculously everything worked out for them. The prince explained that she would not believe such a story. The blonde claimed that if he told her the truth, that he had been looking for a girl for the last years, she would not believe him or would understand everything wrong. Leslie asked what difference it made what she thought. The actress explained that whatever he said, that's how it would have been. The blonde admitted that he knew, but still preferred to remain silent. The guy was afraid that his words could somehow limit his beloved, who so dreamed of freedom. It was difficult for the blonde to be honest with her, because he was afraid that she would run away as soon as she found out the truth. Khalid wanted to tell her that of the two of them. He was the only one who kept the promise he made 10 years ago. The guy was disappointed that she didn't even remember it. The blonde was determined to wait until the end of her days until all her memories returned to her. The prince knew that the wait was nothing compared to the joy that came from having his beloved by his side. Khalid's only wish was for her to be by his side. Holding his beloved tightly to himself, he asked her not to worry, promising that Simon would take care of everything. The blonde gently stroked Leslie's face, reminding her that they had something to do. Embarrassed, the girl said that she hadn't taken a bath yet. Looking into her amethyst eyes, the prince asked her to promise that she would not suffer anymore. The actress asked if they could move to the bed. The blonde picked her up and answered yes. The guy explained that her word was law on this ship. He gently laid the brunette on the scarlet sheets. Khalid informed her that she was allowed to do everything except leave him. The brunette, smiling broadly, asked why she had to leave her lover. The girl did not understand what reasons she could have if she was sincerely in love with him. Gently kissing her shoulder, Khalid asked her not to talk about love in front of strangers. Having gone out onto the deck and sat down at a table in the open air, the girl carefully rewrote the contract. The brunette realized that it couldn't be a coincidence that she had strange dreams every time she spent the night with Khalid. Leslie was sure that it was all because of the coincidence of their horoscopes. The girl realized that neither Simon nor Nefer had ever spoken of anything like that. The actress wasn't sure if she should discuss it with the prince. The brunette assumed that everyone knew what it was, but she didn't. Approaching the princess, Nefer asked what she was thinking about. The blonde put her hand on Leslie's shoulder. The girl said that she would move here if she didn't mind. Pointing to the hanging rope, the actress asked if the blonde had used the object for her unexpected appearance. The princess asked the brunette to hide her because they would not leave her alone. Nefer complained that she was forced to comb her hair and wear accessories that matched her outfit. Laughing, the princess noticed that the guest was very freedom-loving. Nefer asked what was bothering her. The brunette asked if it was obvious that something was bothering her. The princess enthusiastically asked if she regretted her decision to marry Khalid. The blonde offered to help break off the engagement. Leslie asked if the princess was happy about her marriage to Khalid. The girl admitted that she didn't like the idea. The blonde explained that she wasn't happy to see her cousins smiling and flying in the clouds. Nefer asked who would want to see such a picture. The blonde sternly asked if the foreigner knew that Iran was cursed. The princess said that some time ago, mutants began to appear in the country out of nowhere, as if a curse from heaven had fallen on their land. The girl said that the lands of Khalid Sareber were closest to the source of the curse. The blonde explained that many years ago, when the entire empire was in danger, their country was saved by Khalid. Leslie insisted that she knew about it perfectly well. The brunette asked again if it was thanks to this that the guy became the crown prince. The girl said that thanks to her brother's victory, their empire was able to resume business with the neighboring empire. The blonde said that before that, Iran had been completely isolated. The actress asked if she was talking about the Grendon Empire. That country was ruled by a powerful emperor and their army was merciless. Nefer explained that since then they had been looking for a way to lift that curse together with the neighboring empire. The girl assured that sooner or later they would manage to do it. The blonde said that Khalid was only 17 years old when he saved their lands. Placing her hand on the foreigner's hand, the princess assured her that she had nothing to worry about, and that their marriage would be easy and happy. Nefer explained that in the end the son of the empire chose exactly her, and no one dares to dispute his choice. Sue reported that they had prepared everything necessary for engraving the runes. The brunette asked if the priestess had come for her because she was late. Leslie asked for forgiveness and explained that she and the princess had had such an interesting conversation that she had completely forgotten about the time. Smiling, the actress told Nefer that she had to go already. The girl asked to come to her when the blonde had a free minute. Smiling, the princess asked where Khalid found such a lovely princess. Humming a cheerful tune, Simon enjoyed the opportunity to finally soak in the bath. Covering himself with a towel, the guy asked what had happened. Unceremoniously bursting into the bathroom, Khalid said that he urgently needed to discuss something with him. The assistant asked if he deserved a long-awaited rest. The blonde said that he could do his own thing and, most importantly, listen. Khalid said that he had been visited by a water priestess. Sue said that His Highness should see this and handed over a gilded box. With surprise in his eyes, the guy asked if it was his future wife's necklace. The priestess said that all three had runes engraved on them. The water priestess admitted that she was told that they would become magical attributes. The girl said that she applied the rune to the necklace that is in the middle. Looking at the decoration with magical symbols, the blonde assumed that these were healing runes. The girl asked if the rune resembled the one engraved on the staff. Khalid asked if she meant that she had managed to engrave a rune that even the high priestess had difficulty doing. Bowing low, Sue suggested that her words might seem ridiculous. The priestess said that this was the only rune that Her Highness had ever touched. The girl assumed that because of this, she was able to engrave what she had never been able to before. Clutching the decoration tightly in his hands, the guy reminded that it was very difficult for priests and priestesses to find a patron. The blonde promised to support them from that day on. The prince asked them to serve faithfully and truly, but they were his, and Nelisi Karim Harmon. The blonde explained that Zasim was not to tell anyone about this. The boy said that he would not allow the true meaning of this rune to be revealed to Her Highness. Handing over the jewelry, Khalid explained that he sincerely hoped that she would be able to explain the current situation to the other priests. The assistant asked why he decided to tell him about such important events in the bathroom. Simon asked the blonde why he had decided to keep it a secret from Her Highness. The blonde was genuinely surprised that she was able to influence the engraving of the runes. The assistant said he had never heard of anything like it. Simon asked if the staff in the sanctuary had a rune for purification engraved on it. In high spirits, the boy reported that the princess had the power to change Irina's fate. Simon happily suggested that they inform Her Highness about this. The blonde asked his assistant not to think about it and not to say anything about that princess for now. The assistant asked if he should remind the prince of the fate of the previous bearer of such power. The guy reminded that unlike healing magic, which heals wounds and restores energy, purified magic had the ability to undo destruction and pollution. The blonde recalled that this force affected the balance of power in the entire world. Simon said that when Irina was on the verge of disappearing, because of a dark curse that no one could remove, at that moment, a heroine appeared who managed to save the empire without hesitation. The girl sacrificed herself to awaken the magic of purification. The enormous power cost the heroine a lot. Simon reminded His Highness that the situation was completely different at the moment. The assistant reminded him that the Empress had to bear the burden of the entire empire on her shoulders alone. The guy explained that if her husband could create magical objects, then the girl would have it much easier and would not have to use so much magic. The assistant jumped up abruptly and asked if he had known all this time about the girl's abilities. Simon guessed with delight that Her Highness had the power of purification. Having adjusted his luxurious hair, the prince reminded him that he should have directed his actions in a different direction. The blonde explained that he needed to switch his attention to the woman who really liked him. Khalid came out of the bath and said that he was not going to change his mind. The assistant asked what the princess had done to make him know the truth. The blonde asked how His Highness could hide it until this day. The prince asked if he served Her Majesty or the imperial family. The blonde looked down and explained that it would have been much easier if he had told him when the girl first started to show her abilities. Khalid said that there was no need for that because the girl didn't remember. The guy asked if she really didn't remember him or if she was pretending. The brunette, alert, asked if he wanted to say he was there. Hearing a positive answer, Leslie asked how he recognized her after such a long time. The prince admitted that he had not forgotten anything from that day. The actress admitted that she was terribly embarrassed that he remembered everything from that day when she was dressed so terribly. The brunette recalled that she called herself Brianna back then. The blonde said that he was not talking about that, but about events that happened long before she became a professional actress con artist. The girl asked if he was talking about the day she had to jump off a bridge to escape a noble rebellion. Leslie said it was more than 7 years ago. The prince asked how many times his beloved had jumped off the bridge. The girl said that she could not believe him, because he refused to give details. The brunette assumed that since he had waited for many years to get the actress, she could not imagine what his plan was. Leslie noted that his plan was no longer necessary, since they were getting along so well. The brunette admitted that not trusting someone took a lot more effort than it seemed at first glance. Simon asked why His Highness had asked him to find out about Fiora. The prince admitted that he could not understand whether she was trying to deceive him. The blonde assumed that he had gotten up on the wrong side of the bed that day and poured himself some aromatic tea into a glass. Khalid realized that it had taken him too long to get close to his beloved. The guy did not want anything to threaten their relationship. The assistant said that he completely understood him and explained that if the princess did not remember anything, then their relationship would go to hell in 2 years. Khalid sharply asked the blonde to be quiet. The assistant said that it was not a problem, as he had come up with a brilliant idea. Simon was the son of an elder and a brilliant scientist who always brought things to completion. The blonde wrote hundreds of works, but often got into stupid situations. The boy did his best to ensure that His Highness and his beloved lived happily ever after. The assistant noticed that when it came to the princess, Khalid became more stubborn than a donkey. Simon realized that he had to help Her Highness regain her memories, so that they could finally have a normal relationship. The blonde offered to help return the girl's memories using earth magic. Khalid immediately rejected the idea, explaining that it could put her in an awkward position and cause rumors to spread. Simon noticed that the gentleman had not yet finished listening to his brilliant idea. The blonde reminded him that the wedding ceremony was approaching. Sue informed Her Highness that it was a special day and suggested that she wear new clothes. The brunette refused because she thought the earrings she was wearing were very beautiful and asked to leave them for last. The girl explained that they were very comfortable and looked good. Leslie asked to choose a bracelet and necklace to match the existing jewelry. Before the actress's eyes was a memory of how Madame and the curator asked her to carry out their orders, trusting no one and always being on guard. Leslie will become a foreigner, and she will be able to trust only herself in this country. One of the priestesses noticed that the princess wore earrings from the first meeting. The brunette assumed that they were very dear to the princess. The girls were glad that the princess had something dear to her. The sun was approaching its setting, painting the clouds in soft pink shades. The girl was very nervous before such a grand event. Khalid admitted that he sincerely wanted to surprise him. The prince gently pulled his hand to his beloved's face. Leslie pushed his hand away, explaining that it could ruin her makeup. The guy kissed her tenderly on the forehead and asked who made her so beautiful. The princess explained that she would be in this city for the first time and wanted to look perfect. Embarrassed, Khalid explained that she had become even more beautiful, and he could not really see her face or kiss her. Looking at the shore, where luxurious palm trees grew, the girl noticed a small stream of water. Leslie asked if it was the Anu River. The brunette asked if they were heading to Annan. The princess was delighted by the beauty of the local nature. Khalid said that the river supplied the entire city with its water. The girl asked why there were so many people on the shore. The blonde assured her that they had been waiting for a very long time. The brunette asked him again what he meant. The blonde explained that he had been waiting for a long time to meet her and promised not to let her down. The girl asked how far they were from the city. Leslie was surprised that she did not see a pier. Nafer explained that they would not stop at the pier. The prince exchanged glances with his sister and ordered the sails to be folded. The princess, slightly confused, noticed that they were in the middle of the river. The brunette asked how they would sail if they folded the sails. Winking at the princess, the blonde asked her not to worry, assuring her that everything would be fine. The crew began to pray. Everyone was kneeling, saying the same words. The golden raft that created the world came down from heaven and opened the world. The water flows from side to side. Hearing the song, the brunette realized that it was like the wind and waves that were driving a ship with lowered sails. The brunette stood on the bow of the ship, and her lover held her tightly to him by the waist. The prince watched with a smile as, having received the benefits of magic, the girl born in the magical void was able to attract the attention of the dragon. Khalid enjoyed and looked into her amethyst eyes. The blonde realized that the girl had come in a golden raft from the edge of the horizon. Fate decreed as if it was waiting for a prince, whom it did not allow to return home for a very long time. The blonde did not know there were other such beautiful stories. Khalid extended his hand and invited his beloved to go with him, closing his eyes. The guy asked her to close her eyes and count to 7. He quickly picked her up in his arms. The actress could not believe that the guy was her betrothed and future emperor. Leslie realized that the only reason she was on the ship was because she loved him. The brunette counted slowly as a magical bridge formed around the prince. The prince asked to be informed that he had returned with the most stunning bride with whom he planned to spend the rest of his life. The girl was amazed by the beauty of the imperial palace. Many guards were standing, and on the hill sat Emperor Senat Sirin Harman and his wife Kalka Karim Hartman. Next to his highness stood a boy who was Prince Surid. This event greatly confused the girl. Standing in front of his parents, the blonde said that he had returned after completing the assignment of His Majesty. The guy reported that he had delivered half of the precious stones that had been mined in another country to the port of Kajak. The emperor informed his son that he knew he had carried out the task. The man asked the blonde if he should tell him something else. Looking at his beloved, Khalid sighed heavily. Pressing the girl to himself, he asked to let him introduce his beloved, and he said that the brunette would soon become his wife. Someone said that they had to make an announcement and organize the wedding of the crown prince. The emperor, trembling all over, explained that he had not said a word to his father to return with the bride, and it was very sad. The man claimed that in light of recent events they had to hold the wedding as soon as possible. High Priest Kashin informed his colleague that there was no need for such haste. Kashim el-Saka explained that the priests must first choose suitable dates, and they talked among themselves, choosing a date and also the High Priest of Water. Leslie didn't understand what the rush was about since they had just returned. In the confusion, someone had asked to inform the High Priest of Water, since it was about the Crown Prince's wedding. The brunette whispered to her lover why everyone was so excited. The guy whispered that he was very conservative. Kashim could not believe his eyes and ordered an immediate council. Simon approached his father and said that it was necessary to urgently bring the High Priest of Water. The prince said that the only thing that should not be doubted is his modesty. The actress felt that the people did not know the real Khalid. Approaching the girl, the princess said that she was named after the goddess of the seas. Approaching the foreigner, the empress told her that in the north she was known as Ondan, and in the south, Derketo. Smiling, the blonde gently touched the princess's cheek. The woman sincerely wished that the same end awaited her as the goddess. The brunette was a little confused. The blonde said that Nalas, Derketo, and Ondan were the names of the legendary goddess of the seas. The empress said that Iran was originally a federation that was created from 4 royal families. The woman said that the legends of the south and north spoke of a stupid and unhappy love story. The blonde said that the legend of the sea goddess Nalas was more cheerful. She said that the legend of that was somewhat similar to a fairy tale that told how the sea goddess fell in love with a man. She was able to cope with the fact that other gods did not accept this love. They lived happily ever after. The actress noticed that something was bothering the woman, and she looked sad. The girl realized that it was better not to aggravate the situation. Taking the empress by the hands, Leslie assured that if she gave her blessing, it would serve as an excellent start to their marriage. With a sigh of relief, the woman agreed to give them her maternal blessing. Having put a small ring on her daughter-in-law's hand, the blonde said that she was giving her a blessing because she had been waiting for this marriage for a very long time. The empress greeted Nalasi with a wide and sincere smile upon her arrival in Iran. The sea waves crashed against the rocky shore, creating a lot of foam. The man said that they were very sorry that she had to go through this. The father noted that not much time had passed since the birth. Kneeling down, the blonde said that the owner shouldn't worry because it brought her and her child great joy. Smiling, he asked the girl to tell him everything she had seen that day. Looking at her lover, the blonde reported that the crown prince and his bride had arrived at the imperial castle. The girl reported that the princess and the priestesses tried to engrave the rune on the precious stones. The princess managed to engrave the rune of the ship, but she still couldn't do anything divine. The blonde assumed that her highness would need time before she could cast a complex spell. The man noted that it was taking longer than he expected, which made things more difficult. The blonde grinned and suggested attacking them during the wedding ceremony. The interlocutor thought about her offer. The girl said that it was a great chance because they would relax their vigilance during the festive festival. The young mother said that Lana would be sent to guard the borders, and they would have one less experienced warrior. The man grinned and suggested that this would be a great gift for Khalid. The blonde was ready to do anything for Irina's future and the well-being of her master. Her amber eyes sparkled in the semi-darkness of the room. Leslie was delighted that the blonde had settled things with Lana so easily and quickly. The guard was kneeling and crying, as she had sworn to be Her Highness's knight, and now she had to leave before the wedding ceremony. The brunette assured that she was very ashamed and asked to forgive her. The princess explained that she had nothing to ask forgiveness for, since she was already the head of the Sareber Guard, and this was her duty. Gently touching the knight's hand, the actress asked her to get up from her knees. The brunette explained that instead of an apology, she wanted her to promise something. Leslie asked her to take care of herself and not get hurt. The guard jumped up abruptly and promised to return without a single scratch. The princess shared her assumptions that Khalid will leave the imperial palace immediately after the wedding. The blonde was outraged because the wedding celebration lasted only 3 days. The future princess was embarrassed because she thought it was too long. The brunette felt like there were too many eyes on her. The girl hoped that when they left for Cerebra, it would be much easier for her, because there were much fewer people there. As she took in the magnificent scenery, Leslie said she was very sorry she had not been able to learn a little more about the place before they left. The princess said that she would very much like to know about the place where her beloved spent his childhood. Nefer assured him, as if she sincerely hoped that the girl would find it comforting that he had not spent much time in this place as a child. The princess said that the boy was born here, but his powers were too unstable at a young age, and he spent most of his time in isolation in a water sanctuary. Leslie asked what this instability meant. The princess explained that he was born with very powerful magic. The girl explained that the force was so powerful that it caused him harm. Nefer said that the late empress had greatly helped Khalid. As a result of her training, he had learned to control the enormous flow of magic that flowed through his body. The blonde said that Khalid carried many different items that suppressed magic as a precaution. The girl was sure that the future princess herself would see that he was overflowing with mana. Nefer admitted that she was a little annoyed by how amazing her brother was. Laughing, the girl said that she was glad that everything was okay with him now. Looking down, Leslie wondered if the compatibility according to the horoscope had helped the prince at least a little. The blonde said that they had arrived at the place where Khalid grew up. The girl said that the wedding ceremony would take place in a water sanctuary. When they swam into the sanctuary, Nefer said that the fresco depicted the story of Irina's origin and the creation of the water sanctuary. The blonde said that only in this temple can you see this relic. The actress said that Simon once described the relic to her, but it was amazing to see it. Looking at one of the walls of the sanctuary, Leslie realized that it seemed painfully familiar to her. Happy memories from her childhood returned to the girl. Standing in the rain, the guy told her that she should wait for him. Trembling all over, the brunette tried to understand whether it was an illusion, a dream, or a memory. The princess called out to her lover and asked if everything was all right with him. His words from their recent conversations surfaced in the girl's head. Until this moment, every time His Highness asked the girl a question, she always gave a confident answer. The vision made the actress doubt everything, even her memories, which she had always been sure of. San asked Her Highness why she was shaking. With tears in her eyes, the brunette asked her lover if he was there. Streams of tears slowly flowed down her graceful face. Things went dark in Leslie's eyes, and the girl lost her balance and began to fall rapidly. After her mother died, all Leslie did was wait. The girl could not accept the death of a loved one and longed for her return. The brunette often thought about death, which could free her from the debts that her mother left her. The girl sincerely waited for the guy who one day appeared in front of her, and then disappeared somewhere like a miracle. In order to see him again, the little girl continued to live. Leslie sometimes wandered the dirty streets and begged for money. She did everything she could to survive. The brunette remembered the promise that the day would come when she would be united with him again. She ordered herself to do whatever it took to wait for that day. The princess hesitantly opened her amethyst eyes. Turning her head, the brunette saw a woman sitting next to her bed. The woman explained that it was an honor to finally meet Her Highness. Shakira introduced herself and explained that she was the high priestess of the land. The woman said that the princess had understood her correctly, and that she was the wife of the man with the loud voice. Embarrassed, the girl asked if she was so predictable. The brunette scanned every corner of the room with her amethyst eyes. Shakira reported that the crown prince wanted to stay with her until she woke up, but he had no choice. The woman said that Khalida had been summoned by the emperor and had therefore decided to leave. Embarrassed, the future princess said that she had not meant that she missed him or anything like that. The brunette did not argue with the foreigner. Clutching the scarlet sheets tightly, the girl said that she had dreamed of her lover, and it had been a very strange dream. Shakira explained that it was not a dream, but a fragment of her forgotten memories. The future princess asked what she meant. Shakira lowered her voice and said, "That only the crown prince could know." The woman said that she wanted to return her memories on her wedding day. Leslie's strong will had already begun to push her toward memories. The woman thoughtfully brought the girl a mug of hot water. The princess explained that she was still not sure what exactly she had seen. Shakira explained that whoever was responsible for the loss of her memories made sure that the actress would never be able to put the pieces back together. Cold beads of sweat ran down the girl's cheeks. She wondered who could have done this to her. Caliph's wife explained that she had to look into the girl's memories to awaken that. The woman explained that they were more detailed than she expected. Shakira admitted that she herself was not exactly sure what was done to that one. The brunette explained that this had been going on for a long time. The curator ordered the girl to always take what belonged to others, but at the same time not to allow anyone to take hers. With shaking hands, Leslie assumed that the man was behind it all. The girl realized that for 10 years those people had been her only family. Gently stroking the princess's hair, Shakira asked her to consider it an illness. The brunette said that she had been ill for a very long time, and now she would need time to recover. Caliph's wife explained that this did not mean that she could not be cured. The girl began to scream and asked what she needed to do to be cured. Without letting his beloved finish, Khalid entered the room. The princess said that when he finished, she would need to talk to him. Shakira explained that she had something to say to the prince. The actress looked up and addressed His Highness. The brunette didn't know what to do, because she couldn't look him in the eyes. Stroking her cheek with his massive hand, the guy asked if she had slept well. Tears were slowly flowing down the brunette's cheeks and she didn't know what to answer. The brunette wanted to ask him so many questions. The girl couldn't understand what he was doing that day and why he looked so desperate. His image remained in Leslie's head for a long time, and she couldn't understand why the guy disappeared so suddenly. The brunette asked how the prince managed to find her. The girl did not know how he felt during her unconsciousness. The actress realized that she shouldn't get emotional just because memories started coming back to her. The girl assumed that she looked very stupid from the outside. Holding his beloved tightly to himself, the prince explained that he knew very well that she found it very confusing. Khalid thoughtfully suggested that she take a little rest and think it over carefully. Tears began to well up in Leslie's eyes. The blonde assured her that his beloved could ask him anything she wanted, and he reassured her that no one was rushing her. They sat on the bed on scarlet silk sheets in each other's arms. The lovers said that they would have a lot of time.